You moving. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Learn more at metamucil.com.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
There'll be a few clouds around for evening plans and a few clouds around overnight, but boy, the temperatures are easy to take. Low to mid-70s this evening and 66 for the low. Friday, mixed clouds and sunshine, a couple of scattered showers and non-severe thunderstorms around, though there could be some brief, heavy downpours of rain, 70s to near 80. Scattered showers and some non-severe thunderstorms Friday night, 68. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, here we go for a Friday afternoon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Mark Reardon. Sue Thomas has the afternoon off. She'll be back on Monday, taking a few days off. She's in Philadelphia right now, and we'll be back. We have the Hall of Famer Fred working behind the scenes, as is Ethan Hannaford this afternoon. Ethan's going to do Sue's News. He's have you prepared that? Like a couple of days ago, you thought about it like with 10 minutes to go. Hey, you actually got ready today, he's telling me, which is good. I'm looking forward to that. And, of course, in the next hour, we'll visit with Paul Hall on some entertainment recommendations. Cusumano will be here with sports, and the governor, Mike Kehoe, just after 5 o'clock. Let me introduce the roundtable panel this afternoon. David Bartlett, GOP political consultant. Hello, David. How are you?
Fine, sir. How are you?
I'm good. Jeff Rainford is also here from Rainford and Associates. How are you, Jeff?
Mark, I am doing well.
Saw you on the pickleball court at Forest Park this morning. That was
Slipping
fun.
and sliding.
That's right. All right, so, David, I'll start with you here. I have the governor on at 5:04. We're going to talk about the amendments and the election coming up. Fred tells me you may have even some new polling on these amendments and some of the other stuff going on. Look, Amendment 5 is the one that we will most likely focus on because it's the phase-out of the income tax. You guys also, you need to do me a favor this afternoon because I think you're both kind of working on some of these issues, and just let the audience know that in the effort of full disclosure. But how are we feeling about Amendment 5 right now? I think it's going to go down pretty severely. I hope I'm wrong about that, but what are you hearing?
So I'm working with the state's realtors, and they are opposed to both 4 and 5. And so the polling that we just got out of the field, I'll focus in on Amendment 5. And Amendment 5...
Get right up to that mic. Do me a favor, because we got to make sure people can hear you guys.
Amendment 5 right now is polling right about 62% in opposition, and it's winning among independents, among Democrats, and it actually decreased 10 points among Republicans. So
Supported?
Supported.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't see any way that gets turned around. And candidly, Jeff's here because he knows some of the same data. The realtors started 3 weeks after the positive statewide advertising did. And in 3 weeks of positive state advertising, it went down. And it's not, I don't think, because of the core issue. I think most people would agree we need to modernize the system. We're too over-reliant on income tax. I think the bigger problem is it's just a fundamental trust issue out there of can we trust lobbyists and legislators to be able to get to where they need to go. And so I wouldn't impeach necessarily the idea that we need to reform our tax system as much as I would the concept that was used to present this.
Jeff, thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, I think that the polling's probably accurate. I think it is going to go down, which is too bad. There are a lot of different ways that Missouri needs to modernize. I think St. Louis is a great place to live, but we're number one in the country in population loss. I think our state is underrated, but it's stagnant. The problem here is two things. One, we haven't had a real debate or real educational thing from the newspapers, particularly the Post-Dispatch, on how outdated our tax system is and how the income tax is actually doing long-term and has been doing long-term damage to our state. And then the second part of it is what's really happening is all the money coming in against it, of course, are from the special interests who are worried either that they will get taxed, like the realtors, or like the NEA, who, they're just, against this kind of a thing. And so you have one side which is really doesn't have a special interest on its side. It just wants to have tax policy that will result in, robust state services, but in a way will grow our economy against special interests who are worried they're the ones who are, going to have to get taxed in order to make up for the lost revenue from the income tax. So I think the most disappointing part of it, though, is that, the newspaper, the Post-Dispatch, rather than having a robust debate of the best way for us to tax and spend, decided they were going to lead the campaign against it. So not only, is it likely to fail, I don't think we've even moved the ball forward as far as our citizens really having an understanding of what works and what doesn't work.
I think you're right about that. Now, I'm very confused on the realtors, though, David. Why are they so opposed to this? Because, I've offered this example. There was a realtor, I don't even know this person, in Jeff City who posted something on Facebook, and while I try to hold my fingers from typing things out on Facebook, sometimes I can't help. And she's making the case that if you buy, a $300,000 home, that's going to add $43,000 to the price. No, it's not. In fact, I bet her $43,000 that would never happen. The governor's going to be on in 2 hours. He already told people that he's not going to, do healthcare real estate. So why is there? I don't understand where the effort from the realtors is coming from. Why do they think this is going to hit them so hard?
Well, let me go back one thing. I do agree with Jeff. I think that, and we've seen this, that the modern media today, especially local media, is not engaging. And they're not really engaged. Mark, you talk a lot about local issues, but getting other newspapers or things like that, they just don't. That support hurts getting the definition.
Well, and some of that
issues.
is resources, unfortunately.
I agree, but, I'll give you the example. If this thing would have had a longer runway, I think it may have turned out differently. That the other side never had the chance, nor was the current system impeached. It's regressive. It needs to be modernized. It has $1 billion in corporate welfare, all kinds of problems. But people were asked to go from a system they don't know is bad or believe is good or bad to a system that they couldn't define. And so, therefore, I think we're in a kind of an atmosphere that's what caught it. So, answering the other. The realtors for 25 years, the 25,000 realtors, give or take a year, put their dues in a political fund. This is not some, as Jeff described it, unfortunately, because we've are very careful not to describe the other side in any kind of terms that would be divisive in the community, so he shouldn't. But to that regard, the realtors, individual realtors, put their $25, $50 in for 25 years, and they got two things passed. They got a prohibition on transfer taxes. And transfer taxes, the one thing the realtors care about and believe is in home ownership. And so they're very passionate about it. And anything that affects that's a big issue to them. To that regard, they put their dues in, and they paid for and got past 83.7% of prohibition on transfer taxes. That's one. Then a few years later, they tried to negotiate with people that were that on the sales tax issue. They didn't come to the table, or they left the table. The realtors did not want to be in this fight. And they tried to negotiate their way out, but they went forward because they didn't get any direction from the other side, and they passed another one prohibiting sales tax on services because it shut down both transfer and sales tax on the transfer of real estate. What happened is when the legislation, as it was presented, unfortunately suspends both those or repeals them effectively, because when those two things are in this bill are suspended, then transfer tax is going to be applied and other things can apply. The confusion came in negotiations. Again, the realtors didn't want to be part of this campaign, except for this, is that they were promising the state that there would be a carve-out. None occurred. I believe the governor's intention is to keep his word from a standpoint he would never sign something. But the problem is the realtors, owing to their members of 25 years of engagement, were losing two constitutional protections into a legislature that 80% of their contributions comes from lobbyists. And there's 1,000 legislators, 1,000 lobbyists, 160 or less than 200 legislators. And I don't think they felt confident that the governor would be able to protect their interest. And because they had that prior investment, they felt obligated in this
so
campaign. They did not want to be, and they asked to be carved out. But it wasn't their fault.
So you hit the nail on the head. They want to protect their own interests. There's
no, they want to protect the interests of homeowners.
No. They want to protect their own interests. I think that's fair. But the other side is trying to do is to make our state better, stronger, and more prosperous. And that, and then the idea that somehow this is going to hurt home ownership because people are going to not have to pay the income tax, and by the way, will end up having to pay less in local property taxes is unproven, and I think is ridiculous.
But they're not opposing that, Jeff. They're opposing the plan itself. The plan itself was structurally deficient.
It is okay that the realtors are protecting their own interests. There's nothing wrong with that, and the realtors have lobbyists.
Let me close with this.
Hang on, let him finish.
That's okay too. But at some point, somebody, and I give the governor a lot of credit, he's taken on water over this, and this is hard for him. And good for you that you're putting him on the air, because if it loses, it's not good for him.
No.
But he is doing this for one reason, not for special interests like the realtors or anybody else. He's doing it because he actually believes it's good for the state. It's not going to pass, okay? I get that. But again, it's really too bad that we're not having the kind of discussion that at least we could move forward and say, okay, this is not, we have a really bad tax system that is hurting growth in our state and is hurting our state. Let's all figure out together how we make it better.
Okay,
and I
David,
think that's what the governor was trying to do. And I get that people are protecting their own interests. There's nothing wrong with that. But I give the governor credit for trying to work for all of us.
That's Jeff Rainford. David Barklage, go ahead.
Two fundamental objections. One is, the realtor's interest also is the people's interest from a standpoint of making home ownership affordable. But to that regard, the realtors campaign was very careful out of respect to the governor, because no one questions, well, at least I certainly don't, and you don't, the governor, what he is trying to do, and that it was politically brave. This thing was dead whether the realtors were involved in it or not. So to try to blame the realtors on it,
I'm not blaming the realtors.
No, but Jeff is. And two.
I just said there are special interests protecting their own interests. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, I know, but that's not relative to the conversation, because it's not the realtors that dropped this thing down. We sat for 3 weeks to allow the advertising to occur to see what was going to happen, and it actually went down. This was the fault that the proposal itself didn't stand in the environment we're in, regardless of where the realtors were. And the realtors tried to carve themselves out. So I am going to protect their interests from a standpoint. And let me just tell you one other thing. Notice the commercials. Commercials don't point fingers at anybody. They don't talk about dark money. They don't talk about legislators, the Republicans, or governor. Politicians and special interests. That's the only thing we put in our advertising, because we do want to keep the debate open. Because we want to keep the debate open. You heard me say, as the consultant for the other side, that our tax system needs to be modernized. You've never heard me criticize those that propose that we need to modernize it, that we need a lower reliance or no reliance on income taxes. I don't fundamentally disagree with that. I disagree with the proposal and how it was brought forward, and that it was doomed before the realtors ever spent a dime.
And the challenge, Mark, for this is when you have a state, and I think we have about a 5% income tax, when you have a state, you do have to replace that. Nobody is saying, let's starve government. So you do have to replace it. So what ends up happening is, as you're going through the process of replacing it, all the special interests, and I am a special interest. I represent special interest. I'm not saying people shouldn't protect themselves, but these special interests are all like, well, don't tax me. Well, don't tax me. Well, don't tax me. Well, nobody wants to be taxed. So now we're stuck with an outdated system that hurts growth in our state. And I don't know how we get past that. It's going to be very difficult.
I was at the pageant last night for a great concert by a band called the Mavericks. It was a great tribute show to their leader, Raul Malo, who passed away last December. But as I'm walking into the venue, I like to eavesdrop. So I'm eavesdropping. There's like a security kid with some dude that's smoking, right? Well, they're talking about the amendments. They're actually talking about Amendment 4, Amendment 5. And I hear the one kid say, it's a young guy.
Smoking?
They were smoking tobacco. It wasn't anything else. But fair question. But I heard the kid say, he's like, well, look, on Amendment 5, I was actually rather impressed that they were talking about this in front of the pageant, right? He goes, on Amendment 5, like with inflation going up and then you add the sales tax. I mean, I understood his line of thinking, because from his perspective, a lot of people are not really considering that you'll get money back from your paycheck, but they're like, look, this is a bad deal because prices aren't going down. We got shrinkflation, all this other stuff. Then you add more taxes. So in people's minds, that's how they're kind of coming to grips with this,
and I understand that, but here's like an overly simplified way this could have gone, And that is, okay, let's say you make $60,000 a year. You pay 5% tax, you're paying $3,000 a year. So what if we had the general sales tax that goes up by $2,500 a year? So now you have a $500 tax cut. Now, that doesn't get you everywhere. Remember, I'm talking about a $60,000 person. Then you place a higher tax on services that wealthy people do. Wealthy people don't change their own oil. They don't clean their own swimming pools. They don't clean their own houses. They don't cut their own grass. They don't paint their own
haircuts,
houses, and they get Botox treatments. So you put the tax on services that wealthy people pay. There's a way to do this.
I'm not opposed to Botox.
Let me say what
record.
I'm saying is that I theoretically appreciate what you're saying, but that's not the reality. The reality is you have never said on this show or anywhere when I've been around you, my good friend Jeff, that you trust this legislature, the Republicans of Jeff City. You've always thought they're a bunch of crackpots. Now we are letting them pick all the winners and losers. And Mark, the problem. Wait, no, let me finish. The problem is, I like the idea of raising sin taxes, of raising luxury services,
taxes on services that rich people use.
That's there's no offense. Sin taxes should be on the table too. We don't tax sports betting. Weren't taxing gray markets and anything else. But here's my point. It doesn't work like that. In other words, if I'm a senior, you can say this platitudes of it's going to save $3,200 a family. Well, but it doesn't work that way because depending on what you end up with, there's going to be all kinds of disparities. And because people didn't know which side they were going to fall on, they're all voting against it. And it was the lack of definition. And all I'm saying is there has not been an argument by the realtors against the core concept. It has been against the way it has been presented, the lack of details, and the lack of certainty.
And that's fair criticism. Hang tight. We have much more to go. It's a Reardon Roundtable. David Barklage, Jeff Rainford. We're coming back with more.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
All right, things are a little heavy if you're headed westbound on 64, headed out of downtown from Kings Highway over to Big Bend, and your eastbound side slows a bit between 64, make that 170, and Big Bend as well. 170 southbound from Forest Park Parkway down to 64 is kind of slow going. 270 southbound, starting to hit the brakes right around 64 on down to Gravois. Northbound side's a little slow as you pass Olive on up to 70. This report is sponsored by Lakeside Renovation and Design for over 25 years. Lakeside Renovation and Design has been St. Louis's trusted source for transforming homes inside and out. From windows and siding to kitchens, bathrooms, and outdoor spaces, they deliver quality craftsmanship backed by lifetime warranties. Visit lakesiderd.com to start your dream project today. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Man, they have a lot of cool cars on the lot right now at Master Cars Inc. in Granite City. They are a used car dealership with new car caliber. Now, they're also the Corvette Kings in St. Louis, and they have really cool Corvettes. There is one right now that is a 1963 Chevy Corvette split window coupe, which has red vinyl interior. The exterior is ermine white. It looks beautiful. It's got 64,000 miles on it, and it's amazing. So if you're into collector cars, they have those at MasterCars Inc. They have a lot of Corvettes, and they can find you cars that they might not have. I love this one. This still hasn't sold. It's a 1990 Jeep Grand Wagoneer. I mean, it looks like it's straight out of the 70s. You would love it, and they have it at MasterCars Inc. But the other way you can use them is if you're looking for a vehicle. I use a Toyota 4Runner as an example. We have one of those. They have one on the lot right now at MasterCars Inc. But if you don't like the color that they have, for example, I think the one they have is white. Well, say I'm looking for something in black with black interior, these features, they're going to find it for you. Get it here to St. Louis. MasterCars Inc. in Granite City. The website is outstanding. You can communicate with them via email and messaging up there at mastercarsinc.com.
According to MasterCard, nearly half of small businesses have been a victim of a cyber attack. As cybercrime escalates, ThrottleNet is calling on businesses to strengthen their security posture by taking a free online IT security audit right from your desk. This 3-minute online assessment provides an immediate score to see security gaps and vulnerabilities in your network. For 26 years, ThrottleNet has supported your business IT everything right here in St. Louis. In fact, no client of ThrottleNet has ever paid a ransom. So visit throttlenet.com/971 to take the free assessment today.
Registered lobbyist Mike Deering is not the kind of guy you want in the state Senate.
Did you say he was a registered lobbyist?
Sure did. When conservatives like Tricia Burns tried to pass a bill to take back the 300,000 acres in Missouri allowed to be controlled by China, lobbyist Mike Deering testified against it. When conservatives like Tricia Burns fought alongside Missouri cattlemen to require foreign beef to be labeled, lobbyist Mike Deering testified against that too. While conservatives like Tricia Burns are fighting to protect your farmland from being paved over by data centers, lobbyist Mike Deering described Google's Montgomery County hyperscale data center as a
very positive thing.
Deering also endorsed Liberal Democrat Chris Koster for governor and openly mocked President Trump. Registered lobbyist Mike Deering, anti-Trump, pro-Democrat, bought out by foreign ag interest, and in love with data centers. Take down data center Deering on August 4th. Vote America First conservative warrior Tricia Burns for state senate.
Paid for by Mo Constitutional Conservative Council PAC, Scott Lady Treasurer.
80 million listeners depend on AM radio to always be on, delivering news, sports, talk, traffic, and weather reports you can trust. AM radio also delivers vital emergency information when you need it most. Text AM to 39179. Tell Congress to pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act to keep AM radio in cars.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Mark Reardon is St. Louis conservative.
All right, hey, it's a Reardon Roundtable on a Friday afternoon. We'll have Ethan pinch hitting for Sue in the next hour, doing Sue's news. Paul Hall on entertainment, and Frank Cusumano takes us into the weekend with sports. Jeff Rainford on the panel this afternoon. David Barklage as well. We talked about the Amendment 5 issue. We'll kind of skip over Amendment 4 because that's kind of boring anyway. And I don't even know if people understand it. But how about these races locally? Look, we had a juicy story yesterday. I love this so much. Lisa Clancy, progressive nut job on the St. Louis County Council, was caught red-handed stealing a Senator Brian Williams sign for St. Louis County Executive. I thought that was interesting and reprehensible behavior. First, I'll ask you guys about Lisa and what should be the punishment for that. I mean, look, an elected official driving around and grabbing yard signs, Jeff, give me a break, right?
Yeah, I will say this. Back in the day when I was in the mayor's office and we were running, we'd see those sorts of things, and we just had enough sense. You might, feel, oh, you're not supposed to put a sign there. Oh, I should take that down, but you don't, because it's technically stealing, and it just doesn't look right. But we're in a new day and age where common sense has been thrown out the window. It was a bad act. She shouldn't have done it.
I think the fact that she got caught is the punishment, and maybe that sounds too lame, but here is the greater problem. It is a symptom. It is a symptom that people think that violence in politics is more acceptable, especially younger people, that people think that they can, cheat elections, that they can steal signs, they can do all these things. And that is symptoms of a breakdown of a system. There has to be an integrity brought in. And so the sad thing is, when she does that and other people do that, it really hurts the integrity of the system, and the system is the one that is failing. Whatever happens to her is really incidental.
So these races, both for St. Charles County Executive and St. Louis County Executive, are very interesting. I can't really tell you which way either one of them are going to go. Let's start with St. Louis County. Brian Williams, I think, kind of came into this being the prohibitive favorite, but Jake Zimmerman, the assessor, is kind of leaning into his dorkiness and saying, hey, I'm somebody that can do the job of county executive. So where do you see this race going right now, Jeff? I don't know if you guys have seen polling. Is it going to be close?
It'll be close. So I am for not getting paid, but I am supporting Brian Williams. I think it is going to be close. I don't think we know today who's going to win. It started out, they were all three candidates were in the teens. Now maybe they're in the 20s. The undecided's like 40%. So I don't think we know who's going to win. I think it's going to be close. If I had to guess, it would probably be Brian, because Jake Zimmerman has been in county government for a really, really long time. He's about as well known as he's going to be. He probably has his ceiling. What I find interesting about it is you have, a young, dynamic guy running against kind of an old-time Paul, and it'll be, David Barklage just mentioned off air that there's sort of an anti-incumbency thing going on here. And while Jake Zimmerman is not the incumbent, he certainly represents old-fashioned ways of doing things because he's been in county government for a long time, and Brian has not, and he's a young, fresh face. So we'll see, how that turns out. I'd say right now, with the undecided as high as it is, it's too close to call.
David?
I agree pretty much everything with him, but I'm going to make a call on this, and that is that if you're a Republican in St. Louis County, pick up a Democrat
ballot, right?
Pull a D ballot and vote for Brian Williams, and I'll tell you why.
By the way, I'm doing that. I'm just telling you right now.
And guys, here's why, is that he actually now gets, which so many don't, that the role of county executive is about roads and safety and that stuff. He is not one that wants to be a congressman, maybe someday, but right now he wants to actually govern. And to that regard, his reputation in the Capitol among either people in either party is that he gets stuff done. And this is a region that looks less and less like St. Louis City all the time and looks a lot more like a white suburban region, which it is. And to that regard, Brian is positioned with the relationship he has with the governor, legislature, to do great things for this region. And I think he's a great bridge because of his personality. So he is far above. Jake Zimmerman is not a bad guy. Can't say anything bad about him, but he did not have the personality or the kind of charisma or crossover as I've seen with Brian. And candidly, Brian's probably the bigger nerd because he cares about roads and stuff that no one else cares about.
Well, I'm in everything you said was kind of the reaction I had. I sat down with Senator Williams for lunch a few months ago, and I want to believe him because he does seem like he's focused and micro-focused, wants to solve problems in the county. We had great conversations. My only caveat with that is there was another guy that told me all these great things that I believed in a while back named Eric Greitens, and that was a complete failure. So I know that people say the right things sometimes.
He's got 8 years, though. Let me just tell you, his history in Jeff City is born by his reputation.
Got a great reputation. I get that.
And his reputation is bipartisan, issue-oriented. He studies, he does the hard work, and he's a good guy.
The thing is, we have not had good leadership in St. Louis County in well over a decade now, and more of the same is just not going to work for St. Louis County. So I agree with you guys on Brian Williams, and I think it would. I do think that Republicans are going to be really pleased at the way he listens to them, and that they're part of the decision-making process and part of the county government if he ends up winning.
By the way, Dennis Hancock is running as a Republican, but if you pick that Democrat ballot, he is going to be the nominee. He's unopposed on the Republican side.
Thank you for giving me that life raft.
What about? Well, look, I think it's something. I don't know how many
Dennis
people
is a very
do
good
that,
guy.
but
Very good guy.
I do like
Great
to.
job.
I like the idea of pulling a D ballot. All right, St. Charles County, Bill Eigel, Steve Ellman, Jason Law. They were all in the studio in the last week. Steve Ellman was not going to run for this seat again, right? But then he finds out Bill Eigel's getting in. There's a little personality conflict there, I think, fair to say. But is this an up, for grabs type of situation in St. Charles County? I think it's kind of a two-man race. Jason's not very well known. You could play spoiler a little bit. Your thoughts on that, David?
So I have to disclose, Steve Ellman actually hired me to try to get a Republican majority for the Senate back in 1996. So I've worked with him for almost 30 years. So I understand Steve very well. So this race is fascinating because Steve's not the only incumbent here. Bill Eigel, because he spent so much money and he's got charisma, an incredible politician, is running against him. And so you almost have two incumbents running. Here's the difference, and why I give the edge to Steve Ellman. It's really a two-way race. Jason Law is good, everything else, but his campaign has not really evolved. To that extent, what I find is fascinating is that Bill Eigel is able, when you're in Jeff City and you can frame and be a populist, it's served well for him, and he's very charismatic. But when you're in county or local government, and Jeff knows this as good as anybody, almost every issue you pick, there's about half the people for it and half the people against it. And then when you are such a populist and you voice so strongly on something, then all of a sudden you've got enemies on the other side. And when you do that on every issue, you start building up enemies. He has not been the same successful, charismatic leader in this race that I have seen him in other races. And to that regard, for example, he came out and said, Steve, the horse deal that they had was the equine center. And all of a sudden it was like, it turned out to be economically good, that it served a real purpose, it had a constituency, and all of a sudden that got him in trouble. He wants to do the property tax, and he talked about for 8 years cutting property taxes, but here's the problem in St. Charles County. Again, these are more details, but he's like, well, you got a $600 million budget. Well, 80% of that is by voters designated to specific funds. So when you get down to the budget, he wants to give $133,000 or somewhere in there to property tax relief. That would be about 60% of remaining budget, and half of the remaining budget is cops. So with cutting every other service in the state and the county
the
government,
math doesn't add up.
It doesn't add up. And those kinds of things, when you're in local politics,
that matters.
Adds up.
Right.
And that's
but
where he's
certainly carved some name recognition, and people are fired up. So I don't know. I think.
So I would just say this. Obviously, I'm a Democrat who lives in the city of St. Louis, so this is not my expertise. But I will say I do know about local government. And, it's a lot different than being a member of Congress or the state senate or whatever. In local government, St. Charles County government, you got to, we got to pave the roads, fill the potholes, put out fires, put cops on the streets, and all of that. And there's a little bit of ideology in there, particularly around taxing and spending. But for the most part, it's a job where you're serving the people of your county, not putting on demonstrations of how MAGA you are or how far left you are. because neither MAGA nor progressivism doesn't work at local government. It's a very, and I don't know Steve well, but I know him a little bit, and I know that he is committed to county government, and having somebody in who just wants to come in and put on a show and make a bunch of noise, I think that the voters will end up being disappointed if that's the person they pick.
Hang tight. Reardon Roundtable on a Friday. Much more to come.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, we got a crash. It's on 64 westbound once again. It seems to always be there. It's just heavy going from Kings Highway over. You're crawling kind of over to Big Bend or Bellevue area. And you've got this crash in the two right lanes. You're just squeezing by on the left shoulder there and partial left lane. Eastbound side's got some gapers delays that go from Lindbergh on over to Big Bend, and the southbound side of 170 heavy from Forest Park Parkway down to 64 in the crash zone there. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Since we have lawyers in all 50 states, I see and hear lots of lawyer ads. It seems that most are bragging on what they got their clients. But be careful. If you heard that someone sold their car for $500,000, you would be impressed. But if you later learned that it was a rare $10 million Ferrari, would you say that person got screwed? And that's before you even know if it's true. Who is fact-checking? And how much went to medical bills and lawyers' fees? If you want to get an idea what your case may be really worth, visit forthepeople.com and go to settlements and verdicts. You will see what a law firm like ours is capable of. And fact check for yourself. All that glitters is not gold. We became America's largest injury firm for a reason. We won big, a lot. At Morgan & Morgan, we represent consumers. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
Injured? Dial Pound Law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
It's Mark Cox. Celebrate the month of July with Zero Res. Get 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at just $129 and get your air ducts clean for $599 per unit. Book online at ZeroResSTL.com and take advantage of the savings.
If you're considering buying or selling a home, when it comes to choosing the Gelman team with eXp Realty, numbers don't lie. Over 1,500 Google and Zillow 5-star reviews, nearly 6,000 homes, and $2.5 billion in real estate sold. 314-336-1991, thegelmanteam.com.
When it comes to planning your retirement, there's a lot to think about. Portfolio management, tax planning, and retirement income just to get started. Steve All and his team at the All Financial Group focus on those things and more. Their goal is to help you achieve your goals. Call 636-230-8824 or online, yourmoneymattersstl.com.
Investment advisory products and services made available through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, a registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Steve All, NPN number 153-07419.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
3:34, this portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
250 years of capitalism, private ownership, and rugged individualism. America 250 on 97.1 FM Talk. Sponsored by Paramount Men's Medical Center.
All right, so Reardon Roundtable on a Friday. Lots to jam in here before the end of the hour. David Barklage, GOP political consultant, Jeff Rainford, Democrat political consultant, Rainford and Associates. Before we move on from the races and stuff, I'm really kind of dying to hear Barklage's opinion on this one because Wesley Bell and Cori Bush are in a rematch. Is it possible, given what's happened in New York and Colorado, some of these other states, that Cori Bush, with her DSA endorsement, David Barklage, could pull a surprise here or not?
Yes, absolutely.
You think so?
Look, you wouldn't have thought it even a year ago, but when Senator Bennett, who was and Hickenlooper, two of the most principled, popular Democrats in Colorado, Bennett, the senator, was running for governor and lost to a nobody. An incumbent United States senator was in an open governor's race, lost to a nobody. And we're seeing this all over. And so Democrat voters right now are in no mood to negotiate. Trump has really probably pushed them back to the left, far left. And independents who vote in these elections are so anti-incumbent. So if you look or sound like incumbent, they're sort of like, you know what? Donald Trump sort of model works for me. Let's just elect people who are going to blow up stuff. And to that regard, they want the person that sounds the loudest, that sounds the most radical. And I didn't mean to disparage the president. I just meant that clearly Trump
I will then.
core supporters like the fact that Trump is so willing to engage. And to that regard, yes, I think she's a threat, and I don't think you see it coming. I don't think it reflects in polls.
I think everybody understands what the dynamics. All of us Democrats understand the dynamics of this race. Yes, I mean, I have not seen any polling, but yes, I do think that I'm very worried that Wesley Bell will lose, and I think it would be a terrible thing not only for our state. What that would mean is with the loss of the other Democratic congressional district, if we've got Cori Bush as our member of Congress and we have 2 Republican senators, it means that for all intents and purposes, we Democrats in Missouri would have no representation in Congress. So that in itself would be a bad thing. The second bad part of it is that we should be in a position, this president is just ruining everything he touches. We should be in a position to just slaughter the Republicans if we could just stop doing stupid things like DSA and those sorts of things. So
we appreciate that on our side. Thank you.
I am
Thank
hopeful and supporting I'm not getting paid, but supporting Congressman Bell. But I think for the sake of the party, I'm hoping that some of those DSA things were the result of low voter turnout and low interest races, and that they were anomalies and not trends. Because if they're trends, we could actually. I don't know about the midterms. I believe that the president has screwed things up so bad that we can't lose the midterms. But I very much worry that we put ourselves in a position that we could not win the White House the next time around if we keep doing these things.
Well, and personally, Corey is fairly charming. I got a call from Jamila Nasheed, who, if you are a Republican in Jefferson City, you are friends with Jamila.
By the way, I love Senator Nasheed.
And she introduced me to the Congresswoman, and she was absolutely delightful. So the point is that it's not as much as she gets demonized in things, is that she has enough and strong enough personality that she can gather votes.
Are you with me this weekend? Let's go put up yard signs for her, David. Come on.
You got it.
I'll do it for sure. Look, how about just one thing? This is more personal curiosity for the show as well. He's not on the roundtable until after the election. Steve Butch, Gina Mitten. That's a tough race for Senate in South County. Not only South County, right? It kind of cuts up through Clayton. Is Gina Mitten someone who can pull that off, because mainly she's focusing on the abortion issue?
I'm looking at Jeff because I think we both same place. I'm trying to think what I can say that actually helps. Look.
Well, first of all, Steve Butts would be by far, not even close, the best Senate rep. I'm in that district. He would be the best person to represent us.
So that cuts all the way to the West End too.
Yeah, it includes me and our neighborhood. But I don't feel great about that race, for a lot of the same dynamics that worry me about the future of the Democratic Party going up against a post-Trump Republican Party that we're just going to make some really bad mistakes. But he's pulling out all the stops.
I'll take a different tack to what I think is important in that race is that they both are good, solid Democrats, but as a Republican from this region that deals with Jefferson City, both parties, the lack of strong representation coming out of St. Louis City is what's killing this region, because no one can articulate, the view that they need to hear in Jeff City about what St. Louis City needs. And Steve gets that, just as Mayor Slay, who Jeff worked with for so long, was able to come to Jeff City and ask for the right things. And to that regard, I think if you're a Republican out there and you're going to pick up a ballot, you should pick up a Democrat ballot and you should vote for Butts if you care about your city. If it's about cultural issues and things, well, that's maybe a different decision. But I'm telling you that the view in Jefferson City is we need someone who can actually represent St. Louis in the Capitol and do good things for the region, and I think that's him, and I hope people realize that, and that's what went out in the election.
Let me shift to national issues before we get to the next break, and David, I'll start again with you here, because we keep hearing the same things from the president on Iran. They can't have a nuclear weapon. We're going to wipe them off the planet, whatever the words might be. This is going on now. We're getting into the 6-month period. I've been warning about this for a while. Gas prices are not coming down. They may have come down just a little bit. They're not coming down to the level where they were before this election. I know you've signaled the alarm even earlier in the show about what the Republicans are facing in the fall, but I don't quite understand how we can't finish this mission right now, and I don't know how you'd expect diplomacy to, in any way, shape, or form, work.
Here's the problem. For 50 years, American policymakers have ignored the threat of Iran. They have built bunker after bunker, stockpiled weapons, which one should question, that a country with their means has spent so much money doing that. They are the evil empire into themselves that are involved behind almost every terrorist plot, every destruction of democracy or anything good in this world. I want to bomb them in submission, and a nuclear bomb wouldn't be enough. And I know that sounds dramatic, but it's an emotional issue to me, the fact that everybody is allowing this to transform American politics. It tells you what decline we've had in this country from the greatest generation. And it's not about Trump. This transcends Republicans and Democrats. And I understand the political consequences, but I don't see us getting out of it soon. And these people, 50 years they have been.
Look, I can agree with a lot of what you're saying, but I can also agree that there's not really any focus on what finishing the job might mean here.
No.
And,
So there is. I don't know there's a way to finish it.
Yeah. So this is the right war and the wrong president. This is what happens when you put sycophants in charge of things like Hegseth and people like that who don't know what they're doing. It just never occurred to them that they might cut off the Strait of Hormuz.
How did they buy those weapons? Maybe with all the cash Obama gave them.
Or that the Hutus, would end up doing the same thing on the other side of the peninsula. And so,
well, look, I think a lot of people, in fairness, I think a lot of people knew that, and they warned the president. Okay,
Right, but
there was a group of people in that
administration-
room that told the president, from Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance on down
What
to
was
Susie
the option
Wiles.
to do what Obama did and give them a bunch of cash, or to just claim that they really weren't close? I mean, every president, Republican or Democrat, has absolutely ignored the threat.
He has actually not made the world more stable. He has made the world more unstable by not fully understanding what, from the beginning, from day one, he needed to understand.
I
Hold on a
disagree.
second.
Someone had to take
Hold on a
responsibility.
second. From
I
day
don't
one,
see
he
that.
needed to understand what it was going to take to finish the job. And if from day one, what he's being told is putting troops on the ground in Iran is the only way to do it, then don't go then don't go into it if you're not willing to do those things.
I don't think he ever wanted to do that. I think maybe
But
the
they're not going to be able to get this
But
done
here's the
without
thing.
troops on the ground.
At the time he hit them, they financed a massacre in Israel. They were financing terrorists everywhere. They were putting drones in, keeping the Soviet Union afloat, in destroying a sovereign country like Ukraine. You can't say with a straight face that leaving them alone would make the country safer.
This is Vietnam Part 2. He's not willing to do what he should have known from the
Vietnam was not a threat.
He should have
I'm
known
with David
from
on
the
that
beginning.
one. It's a different scenario.
Well, he should have. Here's how it's the same. He needed to know from the beginning what it was going to take and whether he was willing to do that. He's not been willing to do what it takes, and we are stuck right now. And I don't think he will do.
Sometimes the right answer isn't clean and isn't easy unless we use nuclear weapons.
Well, I think we knew. I just think he expected the military force and the economic blockade to be, because it did apply pressure, and I think the economic blockade did in particular. But he felt, and I still think they feel, like people should come to the table. If you heard Rubio a couple of days ago, he admits that they're not talking to the right people, or the deals that they think they have, they go back on their word. We kind of all know that. That's just kind of common sense about Iran.
It's a miscalculation. I just said it. I've said it at the beginning. I've said it a number of times. This is the right war. It's the wrong people to do it because he never did get around to explaining it fully to the American people.
Look how well they prosecuted Venezuela.
And getting the American people on board. He has done this in the Trump way. He thinks everything is a deal. I'll bomb them and then I'll do a deal. And he can't understand people who just won't do deals.
Hang tight. We got to take one more break. We're coming back.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
All right, so some good news on 64. If you're headed out of downtown, it's still slow from Kings Highway over to Big Bend, but much better than it had been. We had a crash working in a couple of right lanes there. It's all gone. 170 north southbound headed to 64 is pretty heavy getting into that, and 64 eastbound slow into Big Bend as well from 170. 270 southbound slows from 64 down to just past 44. A northbound side from Manchester on up to 64. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
This is Jimmy Fallon from Fox Across America. One reason you should support America 250 is our country's now the same age as Nancy Pelosi. Happy birthday, America 250, you fine thing you.
America 250 is sponsored by Paramount Men's Medical Center.
Bill, you're an old politician.
Yup, sure am.
So you know the old-timers warned that someone trying to sell you a pig in a poke was a con man.
Well, sure.
Well, no offense, Tom, but your Politicians Amendment 5 is a pig in a poke, allowing politicians to raise our taxes without a vote of the people, and the Politicians Amendment 4 takes away our power to do anything about it. Well, let's look at what's really inside Ford 5.
Oh, don't do that.
5 hits hardest seniors and those struggling financially with new taxes on services like doctor visits, in-home care, and rent. Sales taxes could more than triple. For up to 80% of Missourians, it's a tax hike. And Amendment 4 ends majority rule, allowing a minority of the most liberal statewide voters in one district to effectively end our power to stop corruption and out-of-control spending and taxing.
Slick plan, huh?
No, Tom, 4 and 5 are schemes that hurt citizens and transfer our power and our money to politicians and lobbyists. That's why I'm voting no on the politicians' Amendments 4 and 5, paid for by Missourians for Fair Governance.
Well, I'm sure you're aware, I guess you can all imagine, that not only are we busy, but other reputable companies are also just as busy, if not busier, and it's only going to get worse. So if you know, I know this is tough, but if your system has not been keeping up with your house for just not this year, but last year, the year before, and even the year before that, if you want to quit doing it and just get it done, just call me, Bart Inman. And it's one easy number, the easiest of numbers that sometimes I forget. So write it down. 314-293-2600, Missouri and Illinois. Or on the internet, bartinman.com. That is Bart with a B, Inman with an I.com. God bless.
Don't let tax refund worries hold you back. File now with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They'll find every credit and deduction to help you get every refund dollar you deserve, or your money back. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
Mark Reardon, Sue Thomas. This is the Mark Reardon Show.
Hey, it's a Reardon Roundtable on a Friday afternoon. Jeff Rainford on the panel with Rainford & Associates, GOP political strategist David Barklage also here with us this afternoon. David, we were told on good authority from Democrats across the country that there's never any illegal aliens that vote in elections. And then Mikey Sherrill in New Jersey reveals that 6,600 of them were registered to vote accidentally, and then there was only about 400 that voted, so that's nothing, right? We don't have to worry about that anymore.
I'm gonna help Jeff on this one. Okay, so I have a long history in understanding this issue. When I ran a special election in the Boot Hill, we had 79 people vote in that election that had been dead for more than 2 years. I was involved in,
Come on, really?
in voter fraud, catching it in Mississippi County where they burned the courthouse to the ground. And we've seen registration and other issues in St. Louis City. Voter fraud occurs. It's always been an issue between, are we prohibiting good citizens from accessing the polls, under the guise of election integrity? It doesn't matter, because what matters is that every time this happens, it undermines election integrity, and it pushes both sides into positions that aren't good for the system. And so the greatest lesson here is, yes, it exists. Quit saying it doesn't. Let's actually try to do something like on immigration, have a discussion and get something done right. But it doesn't happen. Again, they will deny it. They'll obfuscate on it. And we will have the same broken system that someday Americans are going to abandon elections, and we're going to have something much, much worse, and we're closer to that day than we were yesterday because of this news.
So I don't know that anybody who has said there's not any voter fraud. I think what they've said over and over again is the 2020 election was not stolen. And I find it ironic that a Republican would say, well, 400 people voting illegally, and I'll come back to that in a second, 400 people voting illegally undermines our elections. Well, how much is Donald Trump going on and on and on about how the 2020 election was stolen, and how the House Speaker agrees with him, and how 20 to 25% of the country agrees with him? How is that adding
I can tell you, because you don't catch them all. 400 may be indicative of 4,000.
Oh, my gosh.
And elections are won.
All right.
There's elections have been won by one vote. I've had candidates in state Senate, congressional races win by 100 votes.
We have 180 million voters, and we have found 400 cheated. The state of New Jersey should do something about it. All election authorities should do something about it. But the people undermining confidence in our elections are the people who are saying today that if we lose, it automatically means, doesn't matter whether there's proof or not, it automatically automatically means, by definition, that the election was stolen, and we should take steps to undermine
so who's at
or
fault here?
undo
Who's
the
at fault here?
election.
The people that allow these kinds of things to happen that brings that opinion out because people are losing faith in the system. Don't you think that both are responsible a little bit?
Our system of this is not unlike, I'm going to use it as an example, this is not unlike the pharmaceutical business. When human beings count pills, they make mistakes. When machines count pills, they make fewer mistakes, but they still make mistakes. This is a human system. Of course things are going to fall through the cracks. It's a lot different to say that 400 people who shouldn't have voted and there should be consequences and they need to clean the rolls is a reason to overthrow precedent where elections have been done locally and statewide and have a federal intervention.
I'll say.
Hold on, because 400 people out of 170 million voted.
I'm going to give you a good
shouldn't
segue.
have.
But there's two issues here. One, we saw in the last election, or in the presidential election several years ago, where billionaire Democrats were giving money to St. Louis to make sure everybody got to absentee vote, but Cape Girardeau didn't get a penny to be able to put out preemptive ballots to extend voting. And so that's legal cheating. But here's the word.
It's not
real
cheating.
Scary. There is
It's
a
either
legitimate
cheat or
look.
you don't cheat.
I don't buy in everything they say, but here's where I do worry. AI is so powerful and coming so quickly. The over-reliance on machines in a world where AI can get a hold and do things we've never knew could happen should worry every one of us.
Yeah.
Human beings don't count as well as machines. Now, we can go back to human counts, but they will make more mistakes when there are human counts.
You're not answering my question.
Don't you remember hanging chads and that sort of thing? There are far more mistakes when human beings count.
I can tell you 20 ways to cheat
do
they
it.
did in the boot hill. They would unscrew the screws and
Yeah.
stuff ballot
Guess who
box
are
and everything
doing
else.
that? Human
I get
beings.
that. But you are not addressing the fact that we are on the verge of AI. You see it everywhere. It is happening rapidly. We've seen all kinds of scandals on it. You don't think that someone for the power and the money of government is going to use AI to intervene in a all-machine system? You should be addressing that, and then people won't worry about the paper ballot.
Who should be addressing it are election authorities, the Secretary of State of Missouri and the county clerks in Missouri.
They don't even know how to operate an apple.
Congress.
All right. Well, that's good. I like you guys are going at it here today. One final topic in a lighter one as we take you into the weekend. The Cardinals seemingly have done exactly what they did last year. They had the exact same record at the All-Star break. They're collapsing now with the pitching. Look, I think they're a better team. The offense is more exciting. I hope we get to continue to see that, but I'm not so sure by the end of the weekend we might not be under 500.
I'm aiming my guns at you.
Okay, good. Go ahead.
You bleed as cardinal red as any human I
do.
know.
I love the
you
Cardinals.
love them. But you whine like a little, and I can't
what
say
am I
that word on
whining
you.
about? I'm being, you can use
I
it rhymes
told you.
with which, right?
Look, I told you going to the game on a Friday and that Field of Dreams feel and smelling the popcorn and everything else. Yeah, you wish they were just
Dude,
always
I'm going
winners.
to 2 games this
but
weekend.
It's an institution. You go to church, you don't always get a good sermon, but you still go to church. It spills your
I'm
spirit.
not staying
so Mark,
away. I'm just
get
saying.
over it.
Oh my gosh.
Just embrace the Cardinals
So-
like you do, really, and enjoy it.
All right, so now let's get back to reality. So this team overperformed in the first half, and they're probably falling back to about where they should have been. Their pitching just isn't good enough to hold it up, and the top half of their lineup is really good, but the bottom half of the lineup is not very good, and their bullpen is unreliable. So they're going to fall down to where they probably always should have been, somewhere maybe a little bit 4 or 5 games below 500. And I just think they should stick the course. They're not going to. Maybe they'll get the last playoff spot, but probably not even that. And if they do get the last playoff spot, it'll be one and done.
I'm an optimist.
They need to stick to the plan. And if it were me, I would trade Dustin May. I would trade JoJo Romero, and I would trade.
JoJo's hurt. Dustin May's ERA has really. You might have missed your window on Dustin
You might
May.
have missed your window, but that's a different
He's
issue.
pitching tonight, I think.
How many times have we seen where they start out strong and then mid-season sort of is a lull, and then they come back
Well,
strong?
they could come back strong. Look,
No, stick to the. I think stick to the plan.
We're all in agreement on
and
that.
the plan is next year or the year after. It's not this year.
All right.
Still have hope.
All right,
Still have
Barclay's yelling at me for my Cardinals affiliation. I got my friend Scott
Well,
Jennings
we
coming
kinda
into
fired
town
him up.
for the games
I don't want
this
people
weekend.
to not understand how absolutely much you love the Cardinals.
I
'cause
do,
you
though,
are.
but I think the fan base is like that, too. We're educated, and we're passionate about it. Barclay, good to see you. Jeff, thanks for coming in. We'll see you on the pickleball court tomorrow. We're coming back with the 4 o'clock hour.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
270 northbound, some delays that go from Manchester up to just before 64 where there's debris in a lane. It looks like it's in the right lane in particular, so people are slowing as they should be. Southbound side slows before Manchester down to about Gravois just in pockets. Is 64 westbound out of downtown to Big Bend, slow eastbound. That takes you through 170 to Big Bend, 170 southbound, Forest Park Parkway. Your typical stuff down to 64. And then the rest of the roadways are in pretty good shape. 55, no issues. 44 is in clear shape, too. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
If you're a business or brand that's still paying for ads people skip or ignore, that's cute. Try a new method of advertising your customers can't mute. Join our mobile movement so you don't get left in our dust because stationary billboards are a bust. Big, bold, loud, and in-your-face advertising that doesn't wait for traffic. We drive through it, bringing your business or brand right to your customers' eyes. You can't delete it. You can't trash it or swipe right. Hell, you can't even ignore it. The answer? The moving billboards, baby. We circulate around any high-traffic venue, capturing people's attention when they're making decisions. Inside stadiums, big brands compete for attention, but outside the stadium, we own the street media. Because in a world that's went mobile, your advertising should too. Try moving billboards. They really work. PinkTiger.ai.
When Donald Trump needs conservative votes to help pass his agenda for Missouri, Representative Trisha Burns never answers the call. Trisha Burns has missed 370 votes. Burns is bucking President Trump's priorities. Burns did not vote to stop DEI initiatives, prevent China from owning Missouri land, defund Planned Parenthood, and Burns did not vote to ban boys from girls' sports. Trisha Burns not showing up for Missouri and President Trump. Instead, Trisha Burns spends her time pulling pranks on the suicide prevention hotline. Yes, you heard that right. Trisha Burns lied to the police and staged a fake suicide emergency. She sent a series of messages to the hotline and said she, quote, had a gun to her head, end quote. When she got caught, she said there'd be no consequences because she's a politician. By August 4th, vote to show Trisha Burns that there are consequences to being bad at your job. Cut the Bull PAC paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising, not authorized by any candidate or candidate committee.
Men, if you're suffering from erectile dysfunction or PE, you're not alone. Most importantly, you don't have to live with it. Paramount Men's Medical Center restores men's sex lives in just one visit. Their painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, even when Viagra and Cialis don't work. Here's Dr. Simovitz, specialist in men's health.
Paramount Men's Medical Center's painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, regardless of age or medical history. 98% of patients see instant results right in the office.
Men are now lasting longer than they ever imagined. And the best part, at Paramount Men's Medical Center, your consultation and first treatment are free. Qualified patients even get their testosterone checked free. Call 314-887-4333. 314-887-4333. Take control of your sex life. Call now. 314-887-4333.
Can't get enough 97.1? Follow us on social. Facebook, X, Instagram at 97.1 FM Talk, and YouTube at 97.1 FM Talk STL. 97.1 FM Talk. Let's connect. KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
On still trading strikes. Lisa Brady, Fox News. But President Trump says he still prefers diplomacy.
The president has not made a decision, he says, on whether to resume major attacks on Iran following a collapse of a ceasefire.
We're locked and loaded. We're ready to go, but we're talking to them. So maybe there will be, maybe there won't be a tipping point.
Still, President Trump tells reporters he does not think Iran is yet ready to make a deal over ending its nuclear program and the war.
You know, despite what everyone says about the election, I'm not in a hurry. I'm not in a hurry. We have to do it right.
A Fox News poll finds a majority of voters oppose U.S. military action against Iran, and nearly 2/3 think the conflict will last at least a year.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House just getting reports of Saudi strikes in Yemen, where Iran-backed Houthi rebels attacked Saudi tankers in the Red Sea this week. Democrats make a key decision about their presidential calendar, proposing to stick with South Carolina as the leadoff primary in 2028.
The Democratic National Committee's Rules and Bylaws Committee co-chair, Minion Moore, made the announcement after the meeting.
As we stated earlier, the majority vote count was to be 25, and it appears that South Carolina has 26.
There were 19 votes for Nevada and 4 for New Hampshire, which will go third, followed by Michigan, then New Mexico, then Virginia. The full DNC will vote on this later in the summer. New Hampshire still has a state law requiring they hold the first primary in the nation, but the Democratic Party stripped the state of its delegates in 2024 over this rule, as South Carolina went first after a push from then-President Biden.
Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. So far, Republicans have kept the traditional lineup led by Iowa and New Hampshire. Paramount's mega merger with Warner Brothers Discovery now on hold until after a legal fight is over. A coalition of 12 states that sued say Paramount agreed to delay the closing until after the judge decides. America is listening to Fox News.
Point! Hey, you okay? You don't normally miss those shots.
Oh, I just haven't been as regular lately, and it's making me feel sluggish.
You should try Metamucil. It's been a game changer for me. Metamucil's plant-based psyllium fiber helps trap and remove the waste that weighs you down. Ace! You're moving better than you were last week.
Definitely.
Metamucil keeps you moving. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Learn more at metamucil.com.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Lots of clouds, a couple of mainly light rain showers for evening plans and overnight tonight. There is nothing strong, nothing severe. Temperatures are quite cool for late July, in the 70s this evening. And we're really thinking low, maybe mid-70s, 68 for the overnight low. Saturday, an early morning shower, scattered shower. Otherwise, partly sunny and humid, 89. So we start to come up. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, hour number 2. Sue is off one more day. She'll be back on Monday afternoon. We do have the Hall of Famer here.
How about old Fred Bottenheimer over there, ladies and gentlemen?
Ethan's going to handle Sue's news in just a few minutes. We have kind of a cloudy day. It was nice. I went to Forest Park, Fred, and played pickleball this morning. It was nice to not have the sun just beating on you, although I think it's going to start to get hot here again this weekend. We'll look at 94 on Sunday. I'm excited because we have my friend Scott Jennings and our mutual friend Joe Arnold coming in from Louisville for the games tomorrow and Sunday, so that's going to be fun. Tomorrow night, a 6:15 game, and then an afternoon game when it's really, really hot on Sunday. That's not my favorite thing, to sit out in the heat for a baseball game.
Yeah, the St. Louis area is under an extreme heat alert until the 28th, until Tuesday.
Oh, my goodness. After all this nice, mild weather the last couple of days, because it's pretty nice out there right now. All right, we'll have Paul Hall. There's really nothing opening at the theaters this weekend, so he'll come up with something for screening. I can't remember. I told you I have my ticket for the Odyssey, but it's not until a week from tomorrow, Fred. It's at Ronnie's.
Yeah.
I wanted to see on the IMAX. Because Jennings and Joe are coming in, I didn't really have time this weekend with the rest of the schedule. My son's coming in from Chicago as well, so we're kind of busy. Are you going to try to see it or not?
No, I would like to see it, very much so.
But
it just looks beautiful. I don't have any
plans
tickets
right
bought
now.
right
Okay, because you got to see it if you do. And by the way, there were a lot of tickets that were, when I was looking for tickets last weekend, there were a lot of them that were not left for the IMAX, because if you want to see 70 millimeter, you want to see it in the IMAX. It's the only way you can see it. And I think people, because it's such a long movie, they're trying to scout out, like I did, opportunities to carve out time. It's a 4-hour investment at least 3.5 hours with travel, right?
You're right. And I think I was talking to my son in D.C., Noah, about it, and he wants to see it as well. And he says, you won't believe how expensive it is to go see it. He didn't tell me. But he says it's so expensive to see it in 70 millimeter.
Really?
In DC.
Because I think I paid for that Saturday afternoon.
Like regular price?
$17 or $18
Oh,
for
that's
ticket.
not bad.
No, I didn't think that was that bad at all. But that's a week from Saturday, so I look forward to that. We have Frank Cusumano coming up as well. Fred, I don't know what you feel about the Cardinals right now, but gosh.
Not good.
Really? No, I don't either. And, they had the weird start yesterday. It was looking good for a while until it wasn't looking good, and then it ended up being a blowout. The Reds are coming to town. You kind of have to root for Dustin May tonight, not because you want him to win, but because maybe you can get some value for him at the trade deadline. And you just look at some of the offensive numbers. Ethan and I were talking about this yesterday, like even Herrera and some of the guys that are struggling right now. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I do hope, to the point that we kind of made in the roundtable, the fans don't completely abandon the team, because you could really look at sparse seating in August and in September, because that's what happened last year. I mean, people were in until they weren't. You can kind of hope that Jordan Walker and the offense is going to still show some sparks, but I'm nervous, Fred.
But they're still doing better than I thought they would.
Well, that's true. Maybe they are. We have some sports-related content here from Peter Doocy in the White House briefing room. First of all, I guess I should start with the serious stuff, because we talked about this on the roundtable yesterday, and Doocy was asking the president, this is a good question, what is the exit strategy for Iran?
About Iran, what is the exit strategy?
Well, I think there's a lot of them. There's a military exit where we just keep going just the way we are, and we can even make it a heavier dose, and it's knocking out everything they have. Or there's a smarter strategy, and that's you make a deal, and they want to make a deal. I just don't think they're ready yet, but they do want to make a deal. Sometimes they don't want to say they want to make a deal. They want to be the tough guys, but they do want to make a deal. There's two ways. I mean, it's you can just keep doing exactly what we're doing and take them apart piece by piece. We can do it in a more rapid fashion, which we might do, or we can negotiate with them, which we're also doing right now. I mean, as we speak, we're talking to them.
I don't know that answered the exit strategy portion of that question, but that was the answer. Then this one, this is pretty, I think, timely right now, given people having the poops from across the country.
This nasty parasite that is giving people in 9 states explosive diarrhea. When is it going to be safe to eat lettuce again?
I don't know. I haven't thought about it. It's the first time I've been asked that question. Are you eating lettuce recently?
I should always have more lettuce.
Get the hell out of here, Peter. No, it's a very interesting question from you. I didn't think you'd ask that kind of a question. Nobody wants to ask that question, but it's exciting.
There's this food coming in, I guess, from Mexico. It's tainted. It's making a lot of people sick. That is the CDC's terminology.
I think what we're going to do is we're going to put a major tariff on Mexico.
So, maybe the best part of that is, do you think that the words explosive diarrhea have ever been mentioned in the White House briefing room with the president or any president? You think that's got to be, baseball, they're so good, Fred. You know this. As soon as something happens, they have a stat on how many times it's happened in the past,
you're right.
or how many times that person has got it. There's got to be a stat for that, because I'm going to bet that has never been used in the White House briefing room, right?
That's a good bet.
All right. And then he got into sports. We know that the president loves sports. The big story today is, and I think that's why Sue is in Philadelphia, because LeBron James has decided to play for the 76ers.
Today, it was announced LeBron James has decided that he wants his next team to be the 76ers. Where do you stand on LeBron versus Michael Jordan as the best ever?
Ooh,
well, Michael Jordan's a guy that's a friend of mine. Play golf with him. He's a really good guy. And I think LeBron is, maybe he's a racist, but maybe he doesn't like Trump. I don't know. I only like people that like me. So I would say Michael Jordan all the way.
Wait a second. The president only likes people who like him? When did that start, Fred? I've never heard him say something like that before. And then, and I was saying this on Monday after the British Open, because it was a week ago today that there was the Bryson DeChambeau kerfuffle, where it was pretty clear that he deserved a 2-stroke penalty for matting down the grass on a shot that, he had to make from it wasn't even the rough. It was like the long grass at that golf course. So he gets, handed the 2-shot penalty. He's even been quoted in the last couple of days that if he didn't have that penalty, he feels like he could have maybe won that tournament. But then in the aftermath of that, and I don't think this has ever been verified because, of course, the legacy media runs with this stuff without having any confirmation. There was a rumor that had leaked, and this was given air by like Golf Week magazine and some of the other publications out there, that Bryson called Trump. All right, so he was asked about Bryson today.
When Tiger Woods was about to get arrested, he called you. Now we know that when Bryson DeChambeau was having a dispute with a rules official this week, he wanted to call you. You got involved with a red card for the U.S. men's soccer team. Is there a precedent for somebody with your job becoming a fixer for the world's best athletes?
Well, it's not a fixer, you mean being a judge. Like, I thought the Bryson call was a tough call. I saw him walking around. I see a lot of people, they're walking around looking for their ball and weeds, okay? But I've been watching that, so, I thought it was a tough call against him. I thought the red card was a very tough call.
Look, let's be honest. If Trump's out there on the golf course, he's doing exactly the same thing that I'm doing, Fred.
Yeah.
We're not stepping into the long grass. We're dropping a ball right outside. Oh, I found my ball. Look at that. Right?
That's right.
But I don't think he look, I hope, again, I kind of hope that the whole thing with Bryson was just kind of a joke, him being flippant in that moment. Now, one more thing here on Sophie Cunningham. And I love this story so much. It really has been special this week because Sophie stuck by her guns on the women's sports issue. And you have all these people. I mean, Fred, I don't know how much you've seen this on X or, formerly Twitter, because there are people out there that think that what she said in her, defense of little girls is somehow one of the worst things that anyone could ever say. And the tweets out there and some of the things that people are saying are just ridiculous. Like, here's one. And by the way, this is a stupid headline from The Athletic. The Athletic says Indiana Fever guard Sophie Cunningham doubled down Wednesday on comments she made recently saying it's common sense to bar transgender athletes from competing in women's sports. She didn't say that. She didn't say anything about transgender athletes. She said something about biological girls and biological boys. So here's someone, I'm going to use this as an example because it's one of the worst, but there's a lot of them out there. Ralph Schudel, who says, I wish nothing but the worst for Sophie Cunningham. May her pillow never be cold. May she always have a bad hair day. And I hope she catches her pinky toe rounding the corner as she enters a room. Jen Say, who was on the show yesterday, said, what kind of person wishes ill on another for saying, I'm here to extend love, which was part of her quote. And who wants to support young girls? Why are people so taken with an ideology that takes from women and girls? And I'd like to know that as well. And then you had the ridiculous column from Nancy Armour in USA Today, which was just utterly embarrassing and shameful, so much so that she actually had to apologize for it. So the column in question in the paragraph is, it shouldn't need reminding this country has an awful history of black people being harmed, even killed, in the name of defending white women. The irony of the WNBA's All-Star Game is that it's happening this weekend in Chicago, the hometown of Emmett Till, who became an icon of the civil rights movement after his tragic murder. So she's comparing the defense of Caitlin Clark, and Sophie Cunningham is part of that because she's on her team, with racism and lynchings. It's utterly ridiculous. Now, Nancy Armour did admit, I think maybe I didn't put this in the proper context, but here's Dave Portnoy.
To somehow equate the civil rights movement and Caitlin Clark arguing whether she got fouled or not and making into this mishmash, it is pure insanity. Firing isn't really far enough. You got to put her in an insane asylum. You got to lock her up. And people who say, hey, Dave, that's too far. That's nothing compared to what she just wrote.
Oh, I mean, I think Portnoy is onto something there. Nancy Armour, by the way, is one of the worst. Her and Christine Brennan at USA Today, they both shouldn't have jobs. They give air to this stuff all the time. It's a bunch of nonsense. Sue is out for Sue's News. Ethan will pinch hit coming up next.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
All right, slowdowns. We've got that debris going off 270 northbound just past Manchester before 64, so things are moving pretty well northbound. Southbound, a slight delay, but hardly anything past Manchester. Leaving out of downtown, not much of a delay on 64. You might find one around Clayton, another one through Chesterfield, and there is some heaviness through the Wentzville area because of construction at 64 and 70 where they meet. You're going to find 70 is heavy as well, eastbound, approaching 64 and then approaching 270. And into downtown, you've got some road work from Union on into the downtown area. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance. Why pay full insurance when you can customize and save? Switch to Liberty Mutual and they'll customize your auto and home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Can you believe politicians nearly doubled state spending since 2019? Yeah, that's twice the rate of inflation.
What do we get for all that extra spending? Nothing.
Yeah, and get this, over 200 loopholes are buried in our tax code, written by lobbyists for wealthy corporations.
Our tax code is rigged against us.
We get taxed on our paycheck, our home, everything we buy.
I guess somebody's got to pay for all that spending.
That's why we need Amendment 5. It puts politicians on a leash.
Forces them to cut taxes and control spending, whether they like it or not.
Amendment 5 closes the loopholes, eliminates income taxes, cuts property taxes, and gives $3,000 a year to average working families.
We decide, not the politicians.
Amendment 5 is the biggest tax cut in Missouri history.
I'm voting yes on Amendment 5. Paid for by Missouri Promise PAC. Mark Ellinger, Treasurer.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
Ready for instant curb appeal that comes with a 25-year transferable warranty? Call Rhino Shield today. We do brick, block, stucco, asbestos, aluminum, steel, cedar, and more. Over the past 20 years, we've done thousands of homes, businesses, churches, schools, condos, parking garages, large metal buildings, and strip malls, from Champaign to the Lake of the Ozarks. We do flat and sloped metal roofs to extend their lives too. Proud to be veteran-owned and manufactured in the good old USA, so we're tariff-free. We're exceeding expectations every day. Evaluations are free. A+ rated with the BBB and a lot of 5-star Google reviews. Call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
No paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Hi, this is Steve Butts from the Crawford Butts Insurance Agency. In 2026, our agency celebrates a momentous occasion as we celebrate 65 years of service to our clients, a tribute to our founder and my dad, Norm Butts. Our staff is ready to assist you with all your insurance needs. So please call me, Steve Butts, at 314-752-2500 or at crawfordbutts.com. For auto, home, and commercial insurance needs, that's crawfordbutts.com.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Lockridge, and I'm the host of a new podcast from Odyssey called Family Lore. In this podcast, I'm going to have people on to tell unusual and sometimes far-fetched stories about their families.
I've heard my whole life that she invented the margarita.
And then we're going to investigate those stories and find out how much of it is true.
He gets a patent 1 month before the Wright brothers. Oh my God.
Please follow and listen to Family Lore, an Odyssey podcast, available now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your shows.
This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
All right, Sue's off for one more day. She will be back on Monday afternoon, so the whole team will be here, but we got to do this without Sue. Ethan pinch hitting this afternoon.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
Hello, everyone. Hey. How are we doing today?
How are we, Ethan?
We're
nice.
doing
Weekend.
Well. Time for some Ethan's news. You know, funny story, yesterday when I said to you guys, I think it's time for me to text Ryan Wiggins and let him know that I need my own intro for it.
Right.
Siri heard me and sent a text that said, it's time to text Wiggins about a Sue's News intro for me. So I had to go back and be like...
And it sent the text to who? To him?
To him.
Oh, that's funny.
It heard me say text Ryan Wiggins, and it sent that whole thing. So whether I planned on it or not,
that's
Ryan...
like Siri going rogue.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, true. There's been too much of that lately.
He didn't really do it for you, though, did he?
No, not yet. Well, these things take time, you know? I mean, and my expectations are high, so, you know, it's got to be good quality. But that is on the way. Happy National Tequila Day, everyone. I should have pulled that song.
You should have.
Right.
That was a miss on your part.
Big miss.
Tell you.
That's a really big miss. But we will move onward because it's also National Drive-Thru Day. And while many people wouldn't say fast food is necessarily cheap anymore, a lot of people still do appreciate the convenience, assuming that the line keeps moving. A recent report analyzed the average drive-thru wait times at fast food joints, and there's something to the saying, good things come to those who wait. As for the fastest, Taco Bell ranked number 1 by total time for the 5th consecutive year with an average total time of 256 seconds, or just over 4 minutes. I bet the wait time right now is even shorter at Taco Bell.
I'm thinking you might be right about that.
It might be about 45 seconds right now. KFC came in at second, followed by Tim Hortons, Arby's, Wendy's, Dunkin' Donuts, Burger King, McDonald's, Starbucks, and Dutch Bros. That's top 10.
Chick-fil-A.
No Chick-fil-A. I would imagine
I thought that would have been fast.
with how even with them being so efficient, their lines are just so long always. And I bet that has
What's the other chicken tender place, though, that just does chicken tenders?
Raising Cane's?
Raising Cane's. They're really fast.
They do a pretty good job,
Yeah, I think
too.
they're really
always
fast.
a long line as well. Good things come to those who wait. And this says even, this is funny, this is the next the next piece of information. It says that the chicken places take a little bit longer. 427 seconds, about 7 minutes. That ranked last among all fast food places,
okay.
it says. And it's because, like I said, because of the long lines as well, maybe something to do with the chicken.
So, you know what's funny? I will sometimes, Alexa likes Raising Cane's, and I do too. I'll go to Lindbergh. So I'm going down 44. I get off at Lindbergh. I always go inside. I don't go through the drive-thru, and I'm in and out in like 3 minutes. And that's like at 6:15 at night.
Where?
At Lindbergh and
what
Kirkwood.
restaurant?
Cane's.
Raising Cane's. Okay, gotcha. So Popeyes was second slowest after Raising Cane's, followed by Chick-fil-A, Dutch Bros, and Raising Cane's all average the most cars in line. Arby's averages the emptiest drive-thrus, followed by KFC.
Thought they had the beef.
That's a pretty
Dutch Bros?
Dutch Bros.
I've
Yeah,
never
I don't
heard
even
of
know
that
what
one
Dutch
either.
Bros is.
Yeah,
Is
it's
that
probably
like
just a
coffee
regional
or
thing, some
something?
other
I don't
part of
know.
the country.
That's
It's like we don't even have any Tim Hortons here anymore. Remember Tim Hortons was like a big deal. We had one, Ethan. Did you know we had one in the building here where the KFC
What?
is?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was a Tim Hortons. And it didn't
That
last
would have
very
been
long.
so much better.
Well, but it didn't last long at all. Yeah.
If you could put anything in that KFC spot, what would you put there?
Not a Tim Hortons.
No?
I don't know. I mean, honestly, if I could put something, I don't know, probably like a Jimmy John's or something like that.
Yeah, that would be a good
Yeah.
one. Good convenient lunch
Yeah.
spot. Because like my heart says Raising Cane's. But if I had one there, I'd be in trouble. Jimmy John's
Yeah.
wouldn't be trouble. It would be more beneficial. We have some sound for this next one, but a little bit of a unique situation last night at the MSG. John Bon Jovi abruptly ending last night's show after 90 minutes. It was his 8th night of their 9-show residency, and he called it quits after performing Livin' on a Prayer, which was 14 songs in, because he's battling a little bit of a sinus
I haven't
infection.
talked to anybody about anything, but don't throw away your ticket stubs. I'm going to figure something out, okay? Just hold on to it. We'll figure out how to reschedule, all right? But I'm going to have to cool it for you. I feel great.
I love you, John. It's okay.
So you see, obviously, the crowd
Yeah.
still supporting him quite a bit, but him saying that he is, still going to find a way to, rebook that show. But kind of an interesting situation.
Well, if you gutted it out for 14 songs, you're not mailing it in. And
Sure.
finally, he just had to say, I don't think he had any more in him, right?
Yeah, the residency marked his return to the stage since he had vocal cord surgery 4 years ago. So hopefully he ends up recovering from the sinus infection pretty quickly. There is one godsend that every parent with young children wants on a vacation. Grandparents. It's literally the best thing ever. No matter what you have to do to keep them comfortable, but if you could only pick one, traveling alone with toddlers or traveling alone with grandparents, which one is tougher? There's a new article in Business Insider where a man says that he has surprised his 78-year-old parents while they were on a vacation in Tokyo. They thought they'd be meeting a tour guide, and it turned out to be him. But he says that vacationing with them in Japan turned out to be tougher than traveling with toddlers, and here's a few reasons why. They couldn't get around well, literally and figuratively. Tokyo is known for its efficient train system, but they couldn't use it because the mother couldn't see or maneuver well. They struggled with ordering food, couldn't grasp how to use the popular vending machines. Short rests were not enough. And I think that kind of brings up some interesting questions. I haven't personally traveled with toddlers yet. I'm not at that point in my life, but I have traveled with grandparents, and it does affect or limit what you're able to do.
Hold, slow down here. Okay, I'm going to speak as a grandparent here and say it depends the physical condition of the grandparent, right?
100% does. My grandma was 90 when she traveled.
Yeah,
with
I mean,
us.
like
Totally
you travel
different.
with me
Give her
right now.
credit for that.
Kids travel with me right now. They better try to keep up because I'm pretty active. But
let's say
toddlers are a nightmare, dude. Here's the thing with toddlers: you have to have another toddler. You have to have other kids for them to play with, or they're bored out of their minds.
Yeah,
right?
It's otherwise you're doing the same things as a parent, probably just in a different place.
And it's struggle for us because, like, when my kids were younger, the kids that are in there, like my son's coming down from Chicago, we have 29, 26, and 11, right? The older kids, we had families that we were hanging out with, and they had kids on vacation. We would vacation in Door County and go down to Captiva. But then, as families kind of do different things and the kids get older, with Alexa, we don't have that opportunity with the families we were hanging out. So taking her somewhere, we almost need a friend to go with us, if that makes sense.
No, that's a good point. Got a lot of birthdays, got a lot of on this days, so it's time to get into it. Mara Wilson is 39 years old. She was the little girl in Matilda.
Oh, yeah,
and
okay.
Mrs. Doubtfire. That was a little bit of like a whoa. That's that's crazy. 39 years old. J-Lo, 57 years old. Barry Bonds is 62. Karl Malone is 63. Michael Richards, one of my favorite actors of all time,
great.
for his role playing Kramer, is 77 years old today. Today would have been Amelia Earhart's birthday, of course, the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean. And then on this day in history, 44 years ago, Survivor's Eye of the Tiger hit #1 on the U.S. pop charts. 42 years ago, Terry Bradshaw retires from the NFL. 41 years ago, I thought this was kind of funny, in 1985, Disney releases its first non-G-rated cartoon. It's called The Black Cauldron, and it completely bombed. It did not do well whatsoever, but that was their first PG-rated movie.
I know the name. Fred, I don't even know if I ever saw that movie. I remember the name of it.
It's funny. 33 years ago in 1993, 3 baseball fans were injured outside Dodger Stadium when New York Mets outfielder and former Cardinal Vince Coleman threw a firecracker that was the equivalent of a quarter stick of dynamite into the crowd. He got off with a small fine and 200 hours of community service. 1998, Saving Private Ryan was released. In 2005, Lance Armstrong won his 7th straight Tour de France before retiring from the sport.
And before all the titles were taken away from him.
That is also right. And then 1 year ago today, Hulk Hogan lost his battle with leukemia at the age of 71. It is time for our random fact of the day. The largest snowflake ever recorded in 1887 in Montana was reportedly 15 inches in diameter and 8 inches thick.
No way. I'm going to challenge
That's
that
not
one.
absolutely insane.
That doesn't sound possible. But that's why it is a random fact. Thank you, Ethan.
I'm Dan Loney with Your Money Now. President Trump has announced a trade probe into the European Union, which may lead to a substantial tariff on the 27-member bloc. He accused the EU of robbing American companies through its fines against tech giants, including the one earlier this week against Google. He added that a probe will begin immediately. The cyclospora outbreak is now connected to 9 states, with Illinois, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Pennsylvania added to the list. The illness is tied to, or at least right now, shredded iceberg lettuce, with a parasite infecting people through contaminated food or water. The original contamination came from lettuce produced by California-based Taylor Farms. Wall Street had an up-and-down day as more concerns around AI spending worried investors. The Dow Industrial Average added 235 points, ending the day at 51,947. NASDAQ lost 162 points, and the S&P 500 was up by 3. And that's Your Money Now.
Drip Drop is a doctor-developed, proven fast hydration that helps your body and mind work better. Trusted by firefighters, medical professionals, and over 90% of top college and pro sports teams, Drip Drop is engineered to hydrate faster and more effectively than water alone, with 3 times the electrolytes of leading sports drinks. Stock up now at dripdrop.com and use promo code RADIO20 for 20% off your first order. That's dripdrop.com, promo code RADIO20 for 20% off your first order. Head to dripdrop.com now and use promo code RADIO20.
The board recommends approving.
Regarding that seat on the committee, we're promoting.
To boost quarterly earnings.
Every day, shareholders meet to discuss important matters about the companies you invest in. Now you can easily make your voice heard. Vanguard Investor Choice gives you a say in the companies you invest in. With just a few taps, you can set your proxy voting preference for your index funds. Visit Vanguard.com/investorchoice to learn more. Vanguard investors own shares of our index funds, which own shares of the companies they invest in. Available for Vanguard index funds that participate in Investor Choice. Vanguard Marketing Corporation Distributor.
The radical left let crime and drugs pour into our nation, and they let biological men into girls' sports. But here in Missouri, if there's a problem, we fix it. That's why Ann Wagner's fixing the mess the radical left made and delivering for us. Wagner voted to ban biological men from competing in girls' sports, and she voted to fund the police and provide more resources for Border Patrol agents, keeping our families, communities, and children safe. And Ann Wagner didn't stop there. In Congress, Wagner passed the largest working-class tax cut in American history, kept big government out of our business, protected our way of life, and ensured our communities remain safe. That's why Ann Wagner's endorsed by the Missouri Farm Bureau and Missouri Fraternal Order of Police. Vote Ann Wagner for Congress on August 4th.
I'm Ann Wagner, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Ann Wagner for Congress.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
And this portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
Freedom has a frequency. 97.1 FM Talk. 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative.
Oh, I'm a little distracted here. Governor Kehoe is going to join us after 5 o'clock. We're going to talk about Amendment 5 and some other things, but he was on with, I just noticed that Libs of TikTok had retweeted something here this afternoon, or actually tweeted it out, and I just retweeted it because the governor was on with Laura Trump and doing her podcast, I think, talking about Amendment 5. So she said, and this is from Libs of TikTok, attention Missouri voters, you have the opportunity to eliminate sales income tax. Look at New York. People are dying to get out of what's happening in that socialist state. That's the governor saying that. And Laura is encouraging people to vote yes on 5. So then one of the first responses is, and this is what frustrates me, and you have every right to vote whatever way you want to on this. I'm voting yes on it. But somebody says, no, I live in Missouri, and it's not that simple. This needs to be better vetted and not shoved on us August 5th. Seems to take voter control away. So drop state tax, 10 years to incorporate it, but raise sales taxes on all other services. How is that a win? I'll vote no. Well, it's a win because you just lied. It's not going to raise sales taxes on all other services. Not in any way, shape, or form. It may raise sales tax on some services, but not all services. And the governor's made that clear, but people keep lying about it. They keep lying about it. All right, but we're into lighter stuff this afternoon. Paul Hall is here on Entertainment, talking movies from Common Guy Films. How are you? Sorry, I had to get that off my chest there, Paul.
Good for you. Good for you. No, you know what? All these things would do better with no talking, and that's the first movie we're talking about.
It's called what? It's called No Talking?
Pretty much. It's called Motor City. There's no real big theatrical releases this week.
Is that
from a major
because
studio.
Is it because the Odyssey is occupying so much time on the IMAX screens and others, or is it just you do get into this period where there's a little bit of a break sometimes in the summer movie schedule?
Yeah, we rarely get where there's nothing, though, and we have nothing. It has a lot to do with exactly what you said, though, Mark. Odyssey's got a lot of the premium format screens. Next week, Spider-Man grabs a lot of those same premium format screens, so nobody wants to come and grab that 1 week in between when they can't get onto the IMAX screen, the super screen, the mega screen, whatever you want to call it. So you get kind of usually you'll get kind of a period drama, or you'll get the kind of adult type summer movie. But we don't have that. We have Motor City to offer us this week with Alan Ritchson. And like I said, there's virtually no talking on this. I don't think, I'm sure there's no clip for it because
we don't have one, no.
There is, I think, about 25 words in the entirety of the movie. It's supposed to be very arty. It's 70s Detroit, and for an hour and 45 minutes, you deal with a revenge story as somebody put away someone else, and you're trying to figure out who did it, who's going to break who out or not, and who's going to, get revenge. And you get about literally 25 words in the entire movie with Alan Ritchson, Ben Foster, Shailene Woodley. And it's being hailed by a lot of people as this great art piece. Now, Mark, I go by the moniker of Common Guy. And the Common Guy wants to hear some dialogue.
Right. You're saying this sounds like a complete money grab for an international audience. It's just all action is what you're saying? Or lack of action?
Yeah, it's pretty much action. The soundtrack is pretty cool. It's 70s Detroit era type music. So you've got a pretty cool soundtrack to it. It's garnering acclaim, though, and I know our Critics' Choice Awards organization in their Super Awards for one of the better action films this year, I disagree with that as well. I don't think this is anything you need to run out and see. I think Shailene Woodley is not very good here, and I don't buy her in the entirety of this movie. I can say unequivocally, go see The Odyssey or something else. Motor City is a stay away.
So I noticed Jack White plays a piano player in the movie.
Yeah, and he's got a lot to do with the behind-the-scenes producing. So you can imagine he had a lot of involvement with the music behind this. So it like I said, there's some cool aspects to this.
Yeah.
And cool is there. The no dialogue, though, unfortunately, it doesn't work for me as an art piece. And that could work in the right scenario. I can see how it could work. It doesn't work for me at all here.
All right, so I don't know if this is a good thing to admit to or not, but pickleball has kind of taken over my life. I played this morning at Forest Park. My friend Jeff Rainford, who was on the roundtable, kind of got me going to this open play in Forest Park. I'm playing tomorrow, probably Sunday. So it really has taken me off the golf course and onto the pickleball courts, and I'm having fun with it. But there is a show, this is wise, by the way, on the part of Apple TV Plus, that is called The Dink. Is it a show or a movie? It's a movie, right?
It's a movie.
Yeah.
It's a movie.
On Apple TV Plus. Jake Johnson's in this. Mary Steenburgen. Have you seen it?
I have seen it. Ben Stiller is along for the ride, as well as Ed Harris. It's the battle, and it was Caddyshack. It was the kind of the pros against the Joes type of thing. Well, here it's the tennis people against the pickleball people. Who's going to take over the club? And the tennis people don't like the fact that the pickleball people
of course
might take over the tennis club. It really surprised me. I didn't want to like this, and I found myself liking it more often than not. There's some Jake Johnson works a lot in our lead role here. He's a former tennis pro. He kind of had an issue to get off the court, and he's always been dying to get back at Andy Roddick. Well, he'll have his shot before all is said and done in The Dink that focuses as much on pickleball as it does on tennis. Steenburgen's fun to see again, and they make good use of the relationship that's here between Jake Johnson and Mary Steenburgen, not to devolve into a crazy romance, but there's a love there, shall we say, between the two, because there is quite an age difference. It's good to see all these people back on screen, Steenburgen, Harris, and the like. I found myself liking The Dink more than I wanted to like The Dink.
Do you play at all?
I do not.
There's a fair amount. I'm trying to look up the people who might have done this, but there's a fair amount of professional tennis players, who are older that have crossed over into the pickleball lane. So, there's a little bit of truth to that as well. I want to talk about one more show just because I was kind of late to the game and I've almost wrapped it up, and I've really, really been impressed, and I love Tatiana Maslany. It's called Maximum Pleasure Guaranteed, and it's on Apple TV Plus. You've been talking about it for a while. I was a little late to start it. I think I have 2 more episodes left, but it's been really, really good. Mentioned Jake Johnson. He plays like the ex of Paula, who is the lead character here. But it's got me guessing and has kept me very, very interested here, so I'm looking forward to see how that one kind of closes out.
Kind of was under the radar. The title threw, I think, some people off a little bit, and it truly is Maximum Pleasure Guaranteed. They don't mince any words with it when it comes to kind of the underlying tone of this entire show. I like it a lot, and Maslany is the big reason why. She is able to carry that series in a big way. If you go over to Netflix, though, right now you've got a new movie, 72 Hours, with Kevin Hart. This is a comedy in the vein of all Kevin Hart comedies, with Tim Story behind the camera, who's done a lot of great comedies that have been a lot of fun. It's a fun movie about a guy who's old, trying to use the youth set to get back his mojo, shall we say, with the young set. It's a fun little movie. That's about all the more. And then the biggest movie right now on Netflix is A Toxic Love Story, this documentary that is going to have you guessing. It's going to have you screaming at your TV, as a lot of Netflix documentaries tend to do. And I'll tell you what, I found myself more than once sitting there, sitting up in my seat going, what? They did what? He did what? She did what? That's a good thing when it comes to a true crime documentary.
So what is that about? It's called A Toxic Love Story. So on IMDb it says a string of threatening emails escalates into a revenge plot involving a newly married U.S. Marshal and his ex-girlfriend in this true crime documentary.
Yes. It's a guy who basically, let's give you the very high view. He and his ex break up. She owns the condo. Allegedly, she starts catfishing back and forth with him and the new girlfriend, threatening them. Then allegedly they came back at him, couldn't put her away for whatever reason. Then things happen, including a violent assault, allegedly. And I'm going to keep saying allegedly because you have to see it before I'm going to tell you whether it's real or not.
I love those documentaries. By the way, before I let you go here, and this is just unfortunate and it's unnecessary because these guys can get drivers. You see Tony Romo got arrested where you are up in Milwaukee today?
I did.
He's got an OWI, which is like a DUI, operating while intoxicated, last night in Milwaukee. He grew up in Burlington, Wisconsin, and I love Tony Romo. I know a lot of people aren't crazy about the way he does his broadcast, but that's just, when people in his, I guess, orbit do things like this, it's even more frustrating because you have the money to get a driver, right? And it's just unacceptable. So we'll see what happens.
We all use Uber. We all use Uber. It's a quick swipe of the app away, and you can have someone come pick you up wherever you are.
Well, Tony's in a position where he could literally have a driver 24 hours a day, and he'd be fine. Paul, tell folks where they can find your reviews.
Simple, commonguy.com.
We'll talk next Friday.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Boy, it's really light out there. If you're traveling around, we've got some delays on 64 if you're headed out of downtown. This takes you from Kings Highway to Clayton, and then the approaching 270 delay you're going to get through Chesterfield's fine, but then approaching 70 is pretty heavy with road work over in the Wentzville area. If you're traveling eastbound, it's going to be slow going, passing 170 to Big Bend, 170 southbound. You get your Forest Park Parkway on down to 64 and 44, leaving westbound around Shrewsbury. You're going to find some delays through that area over to 270, just pockets of delays. But I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
This is a special place, but not by accident. Learn our backstory, and you'll even love America more. Celebrating America 250 on 97.1 FM Talk, I'm Brian Kilmeade.
America 250 is sponsored by Paramount Men's Medical Center.
Yeah, we had Brian on the show yesterday. Don't forget that he's coming back for another St. Louis appearance at the Factory in Chesterfield, November 21st. It is a Saturday night. Tickets are available. It will likely sell out because Brian has sold out the past couple of years. Sometimes it takes a little while, but if you want good seats, you can get them right now at the Factory. It is Freedom Month at Generator Supercenter, and one of the ways that we are trying to help you celebrate our nation's 250th anniversary is at Generator Supercenter of St. Louis. New sales and installation customers get $2,500 off the entire order. So if you're interested, you can get a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator from Generator Supercenter, the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. And again, $2,500 off. Really, this is a no-brainer at the very least to see what the estimate might be and what your price will be with $2,500 off. We've had storms. We've had power outages because of the storms. We've had ice storms over the winter. We have a power grid that's failing as well. This gives you extra peace of mind. It's not a loud portable generator, but when your power goes out via natural gas or propane, it'll kick right back in. If you're away from home, you don't have to worry about that. The food won't spoil. It is going to give you peace of mind, and you don't have to worry about what will happen if the power goes out. So again, $2,500 off this month. This month is closing very quickly. They do have financing with low monthly payments. $499-2020. Generator Supercenter of St. Louis.com.
Did you know replacing old vinyl windows with more vinyl windows might not be the best choice? Hi, it's Kim, and I'm here to tell you about Infinity from Marvin Windows, because these fiberglass windows, they're energy efficient, they're beautiful, and they're custom built to fit your home perfectly. The team at Lakeside Renovation and Design just makes the process so easy. I love the fact that they even offer a lifetime workmanship warranty. Look, if you're tired of drafts, high energy bills, or maybe hard to open windows, now's the time to upgrade. Visit windowsbylakeside.com to schedule your free consultation today.
In the race for state senate, candidate Tricia Burns is missing votes. In just 4 years, Tricia Burns has missed over 400 votes in the Missouri House. Tricia Burns just didn't show up to vote 400 times. Like the vote blocking China from buying our farmland? Tricia Burns, absent. Banning DEI in state government? Absent. Ending taxpayer-funded abortion? Burns, absent. When conservative values were on the line, Tricia Burns went missing 400 times.
Mike Deering for state senate, he shows up and fights for us, for our farmers, for our families, for the conservative values that built Missouri.
I'm Mike Deering. I'll fight to protect our conservative values, and I'll be there every single time.
Mike Deering for state senate, showing out to fight for our conservative values. Paid for by friends of Mike Deering, Megan Kaiser, Treasurer.
Are you tired of feeling sick and tired? I'm Dr. Nick Barnes of Health from Within Family Chiropractic. Our simple 5-step approach aligns your health naturally. We correct spinal abnormalities to maximize nerve supply, focus on pure and simple nutrition, exercise and oxygen, mindset, and minimizing toxins in your body. Transform your health today with Health from Within, conveniently located on Manchester in Rock Hill, or online at healthfromwithinstl.com.
Want to make the most of your tax refund? File with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then we help you do more with it. With a personalized plan designed to help you hit your money goals. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
All right, let's visit with KSDK Sports Director Frank Cusumano on this Friday afternoon. We can talk about the Cardinals series and some other things, but the big sports story of the day, Frank, is LeBron James going to Philadelphia, right?
Yeah, and you think about it, Mark, there's no question that the best or most talented starting five in basketball, it belongs with the Philadelphia 76ers. You have LeBron, whose career scoring average is 27. You have Tyrese Maxey, a career 20-point scorer. Jaylen Brown, a career 20-point scorer. VJ Edgecombe, a 16-point career scorer. And Joel Embiid, 27. I mean, that's like one of the most explosive starting lineups ever put together. So I think he's going to be great. It's a great decision. It's not about money for him. He's going to make $8 million over these 2 years. Mark, he'll make $4 million a year, so that means there'll be players at the University of Kentucky and the University of Louisville who will make more money playing basketball this season than LeBron James.
Isn't that crazy? That's an interesting little nugget right there. Yeah, he's basically making the veterans minimum of $3.9 million, which is less than 1/10 the amount of most of the other forwards in his talent range will earn. So I guess he wants to try to win one more, right?
Yeah, when you're a billionaire, it's not about money. It's about one more ring, and he's going to have a great chance if they can keep Embiid healthy, and that's a big, big question mark.
All right, let's talk about the Cardinals. Things have not turned out very well. I mean, it feels like the same thing that happened last year, Frank. The offense certainly has been more entertaining, but you just can't seem to get things going here in the late innings with this pitching, and now it feels like the big collapse is maybe about to start.
Yeah, and you know what my takeaway is right now as we speak on this Friday is that Ali Marmol is a hell of a manager. The run differential on the Cardinals is -4. The Pirates are a plus like 55. The Brewers are a plus 300. What I'm saying, for him to be 2 games over 500 with a ratio, where you're below, you're 4 runs minus, I think he's done a heck of a job. And I think he's got to be appreciated more because there's just not enough talent to get, to make a run in the playoffs, and I think maybe even to make the playoffs. But this is supposed to be a transition year, and you're finding out things. You got your right fielder, you got your second baseman. Now you got to find out if you can find a center fielder, or if you got him, or if you can find a third baseman, or you have him. But I just think with what Ali Marmol has to deal with, he's done a fine job.
So Dustin May's going tonight. You're kind of rooting for him because he's certainly someone who we thought might be a trade possibility, but he has not had the last month things are not going well for Dustin. So maybe they can get back on track. Is he still someone? I was looking at ESPN, I think 2 days ago, at the list of the most likely, trade deadline type people, and he was still listed in the top 25.
Yeah, but it's kind of sad because, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago he was a top 10, and he's got a couple of starts to prove himself. I say this too, Mark. I don't know how you feel, but we need to get him out of the rotation, either at the deadline or sometime soon, because we got to start giving Quinn Matthews starts. We got to start giving Hunter Dobbins starts. Maybe some of them come from Libator, but I don't want Dustin May to block this team and the development of some really good pitchers, because he's not going to be here next year.
Frank, the trade deadline now 10 days away, and I'm curious in your eyes, we'll see just how creative Heimblum gets, if he ends up, just kind of trading away the rentals or if he ends up doing more than that. But if it's up to you, who are the names in the organization that you're not even willing to listen on whatsoever? I mean, it doesn't matter what is offered, it is a no in your opinion.
Well, of the teams on the big league roster, there's only two, Jordan Walker and J.J. Weatherholt. Everybody else, I love, Ivan Herrera. I really like Alec Burleson, and Mason Wynn's a really good player, but, everybody is available. Everybody. So, but I don't think, look, the bottom line is they're either going to trade Jojo Romero, Dustin May,
Ryan
Lars Nootbaar,
Stanek maybe.
Stanek, if anybody will take him. And, even Riley O'Brien, could you argue that, hey, this was a stock you bought low. He's made the All-Star team. He's got a lot of saves. Can you trade now? Do you really believe he's a great, closer moving forward? I like Riley O'Brien, but, everybody's available.
Frank, we both love golf. I have to mention this. Michael Kim carded the 15th 59 in PGA Tour history today, making a 24-foot putt for birdie on the 18th hole of the 3M Open. That's pretty incredible. That's in Minnesota, up in the Twin Cities, and he's 14 under for the tournament.
Oh, my gosh, that is so awesome. So we're going to get to see all those guys pretty soon at Belle Reve. That's what makes it even more exciting.
Absolutely.
To watch all these golf tournaments.
Only about a month away. All right, Frank, anything you want to talk about on the show on Sunday night?
Okay, Jordan Goodwin, who nobody thought would ever get into the NBA, has now signed a $20 million contract with the Phoenix Suns. He's a legitimate NBA player. We go one-on-one with him. And then our special look at one of the most talented Cardinals in history that everybody has kind of like a bad vibes about, Gary Templeton, who grabbed his crotch and was yanked out of the game by Whitey Herzog in 1981. And his side of the story, we sit down with him, tell his story in a really candid interview.
Wow, that's going back. I
interesting.
kind of remember the framework of all that, but I still love Gary Templeton in the 80s. So have a good weekend, Frank. We'll talk on Monday.
Sounds good, sir.
All
Take
right.
care.
Ethan, where's your thought on Nootbaar in particular? Is it just the assumption that we're going to trade him?
I'm the farther in we get, the more I lean towards no. And the reason being is that early on in the year, the why it made the most sense is because you felt like there was going to be a guy in Joshua Baez that was ready and waiting in the ranks. And he's the Cardinals' number 3 ranked prospect. He leads all of AAA in home runs. I think he's hit 29 this year. He hit 4 in one game several weeks ago.
We talked about
this is a
that,
guy
right.
that has some serious power. The problem is that there's a lot of swing and miss there. I'm seeing Nolan Gorman comps, and obviously we know what's going on with Nolan Gorman right now. You don't want to rush a guy like that to the major league level, and if you don't feel like he is ready for this level, why are you rushing to trade away a Lars Nootbaar that is not on an expiring contract? He is still under team control for next year,
and he's a fan favorite as well. I mean, I don't know how much that plays into it, but
he's having a good year. So he's a clubhouse leader. There's a lot of reasons that it makes sense to keep Lars Nootbaar here, and if you don't feel like you have someone that's banging on the door to take over that spot, then I don't know if it's necessary right now, unless you get an offer that just blows you out of the water for Lars Nootbaar. I don't think it makes that much sense.
Yeah, we'll see if the phones ring here in the next 10 days. It'll be interesting. All right, we're going to take a break here at the top of the hour with Fox News. Governor Kehoe is going to join us. A little bit rare on a Friday, but we're talking about mainly Amendment 5, one of the key pieces of his, promises to the state of Missouri to roll back, to phase out the income tax. We talked about it on the Reardon Roundtable a couple of hours ago. Unfortunately, everyone sort of agreed that this thing might be headed for defeat, but the governor's going to make his case here in just a few minutes. Then Tim Sommer. We love Tim. Tim's become a friend. He's a great music journalist, a former record executive. He is the guy who discovered and signed Hootie and the Blowfish. And over the years that we've gotten to know Tim talking about music on this show, he has shared some amazing stories. I mean, really, really amazing stories. He's written a little bit of a compilation of a lot of those stories, things that he's done in his career. And he started writing about music when he was 16 years old, which I love because I started in radio when I was 15 years old. So he's been doing this as a passion project. He was also a musician for a long time. But he's got a book out called Dispatches from the Kingdom of Outsiders. There's this little no-name on the back of the book that gives him high praise named Billy Idol. And Tim is close with Billy. So we'll talk about that book coming up in the next hour on 97.1 FM Talk, plus audio cut of the day.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We got 270 on your northbound side, pretty heavy, just past 44 off the ramps there. We've got a crash working in a lane. Southbound side, just past Doherty Ferry, you've got a crash. Well, that's a stall. That's in the right lane. And then the 70 eastbound past Bermuda, we've got a stall also in the right lane. If you're leaving downtown on 64, it's a little heavy going. And once you get to Clayton, then you're fine until you get out a little further west, to say the least, up at Lake St. Louis out to Wentzville. That area to 70 is pretty heavy because of road work at 70 itself. Eastbound side of 64 is slow going from Lindbergh over to Big Bend, and 170 southbound, you get your Forest Park Parkway down to 64 delay. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, guys, I want to guide you into Game Day Men's Health. It's a great clinic here in the St. Louis area. There are two locations that I would recommend because I've gotten to know Matt Lawrence. He runs the location in Chesterfield. Game Day Men's Health out there in O'Fallon, Missouri as well. They've had 400-plus clinics growing all across North America, the U.S. and Canada. And Matt's really awesome, and he's going to shoot straight with you. I even saw something in the last couple of days. I can't even remember what the reference was on television to peptides. And peptides and vitamins have really blown up. Matt will tell you there's a lot of misinformation out there. If you go into Game Day Men's Health and you have questions about testosterone replacement therapy, peptides, GLP-1s, and medical weight loss, they handle a lot of these things and more, even sexual wellness and ED, hair loss to regrow hair, sports injury recovery options. They have a ton of services, and they're still offering you, if you're new to Game Day Men's Health, make an appointment. It's a 1-hour visit. They pride themselves on that visit. The first thing that will happen is they'll draw blood. They'll have the results back in 20 minutes. If you're interested in TRT to boost energy, that's something they can talk about. By the way, they have injections. They even have pellets that sort of go underneath your skin and last for a certain amount of time. So they have options for you, and they're really, really experts at Game Day Men's Health. Check them out. Make an appointment today. GameDayMen'sHealth.com.
Registered lobbyist Mike Deering is not the kind of guy you want in the state Senate.
Did you say he was a registered lobbyist?
Sure did. When conservatives like Tricia Burns tried to pass a bill to take back the 300,000 acres in Missouri allowed to be controlled by China, lobbyist Mike Deering testified against it. When conservatives like Tricia Burns fought alongside Missouri cattlemen to require foreign beef to be labeled, lobbyist Mike Deering testified against that too. While conservatives like Tricia Burns are fighting to protect your farmland from being paved over by data centers, lobbyist Mike Deering described Google's Montgomery County hyperscale data center as a
very positive thing.
Deering also endorsed liberal Democrat Chris Koster for governor and openly mocked President Trump. Registered lobbyist Mike Deering, anti-Trump, pro-Democrat, bought out by foreign ag interest, and in love with data centers. Take down data center Deering on August 4th. Vote America First conservative warrior Tricia Burns for state senate.
Paid for by Mo Constitutional Conservative Council PAC, Scott Lady Treasurer.
Do you owe back taxes or have unfiled tax returns? The IRS won't quit until they get your money. Here's great news, fresh from those in the know. Major changes have happened at the IRS. If you owe more than $10,000, you may be eligible for a 99% reduction of what you owe. Haven't filed a return for a while? Their happy clients are talking.
The IRS was going to levy my bank account, but Guardian was able to prevent that and fix all my IRS issues. Thanks again, Guardian Tax.
Need relief from crushing tax debt? The IRS now has special programs. Guardian Tax knows all about them. Personal or business, this is the fresh new brick you've been hoping for.
We aren't the company you call when you need a hug because you're scared of the IRS. Guardian Tax is the company that wins when you need it most.
Guardian Tax Service is really great to work with. They really help me out. I'd recommend them highly.
Call now for a free confidential consultation. 800-499-6623. 800-499-6623. 800-499-6623.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
Locked and loaded. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Trump with the comments in the Oval Office this afternoon as he considers a large-scale attack on Iran.
We can take that to a much higher level if we want to. We're prepared to do that, as you know.
The president again saying Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. This as Central Command says it's fired on another merchant ship that was trying to breach the blockade of Iranian ports. A CENTCOM spokesman says American forces disabled the ship in the Gulf of Oman after it attempted to run the blockade at least 4 times. The military then fired into the ship's engine room. Fox's Steve Harrigan in Tel Aviv reporting the conflict shows signs of widening.
One sign of preparations here for potential trouble ahead. A number of mayors of Israeli cities have reopened bomb shelters, bunkers around parts of the city. They usually do this in times of heightened alert.
U.S. embassies in the Middle East have begun alerting Americans their options to leave could become more limited. Paramount Skydance has agreed to delay the closing of its acquisition of Warner Brothers Discovery well into next year as a judge continues to consider a challenge from 12 states looking to block the deal.
Paramount said it wouldn't close the merger until 5 days after the judge rules on the merits of the case, or June the 1st, 2027, whichever comes first. The move comes days after a judge granted a temporary restraining order requested by the states to delay the transaction for several weeks. The states sued to block Paramount's buyout of Warner, claiming that the combo would extinguish competition in Hollywood and lead to fewer choices for consumers. Paramount has called the states' claims meritless and vowed to vigorously defend its merger.
Fox's Hillary Barsky. More than 200,000 people in southwestern France and central Spain forced from their homes as massive wildfires continue to grow. Several firefighters have been injured. No deaths have been reported in either country. America is listening to Fox News.
Point. Hey, you okay? You don't normally miss those shots.
Oh, I just haven't been as regular lately, and it's making me feel sluggish.
You should try Metamucil. It's been a game changer for me. Metamucil's plant-based psyllium fiber helps trap and remove the waste that weighs you down. Ace, you're moving better than you were last week.
Definitely.
Metamucil keeps you moving. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Learn more at metamucil.com.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Lots of clouds, a couple of mainly light rain showers for evening plans and overnight tonight. There is nothing strong, nothing severe. Temperatures are quite cool for late July, in the 70s this evening. And we're really thinking low, maybe mid-70s, 68 for the overnight low. Saturday, an early morning shower, scattered shower. Otherwise, partly sunny and humid, 89. So we start to come up. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
We have Governor Kehoe is going to join us in just a couple of minutes. We're going to talk about Amendment 5 and some other things. After that, our good friend Tim Sommer is going to be here. He's got a brand new book out called Dispatches from the Kingdom of Outsiders. Now, Tim's been a guest on my show for several years, and we break down music a lot. And he shared some of the stories in this book, not all of them. Some of them are pretty crazy. He was in the music business. He started writing about music when he was 16 years old. And we'll share some stories from the book, which is out the first week of August. This is a story I've never heard, and I had Ethan pull some music. Here's one of the chapters. Sha Na Na was the most important band at Woodstock, and I'm not effing kidding. I cannot wait to hear that story, but there's others that he'll share with us as well in just a few minutes. at 5:20 or so, and I have an audio cut of the day coming up as well. Right now, Governor Kehoe with us on this Friday evening, taking us into the weekend. Hello, Mike. How are you this afternoon?
Mark, I'm great. It's always good to be with you. Thank you.
How many World Cup games did you make it to? Did you get to Kansas City?
I did. We're fortunate enough to get to 5 out of the 6, and every one of those games we use as opportunity to bring people from the international community who either have a presence in Missouri and are looking at expanding, or potential prospects for businesses that might want to move to Missouri. So it was a great venue to be able to do that. Kansas City did a great job. Missouri did a great job showcasing the world how great our state is.
I thought it was awesome. Now, did you see the renderings of the new Arrowhead Stadium that looks exactly like Arrowhead Stadium with a roof that they're going to put in Kansas?
I thought that was Arrowhead Stadium with a roof.
I know. It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I happen to catch those.
I guess we have to move on from that topic, right? Unfortunately.
Kansas spent $2.1 billion, Mark. I mean,
know.
That's a bad deal for taxpayers. And, they have half the population. It would have been dumb for Missouri to put I love the Chiefs, and I love football. But it would not have been a good investment to put $2.1 billion out for 6 million Missourians to pay. They're putting $2.1 billion out for 3 million Kansas. That's going to come out of somebody's pocket.
Yeah, that's insane. No, there's no doubt that Missouri made the right choice on that. All right, here we are closer to this election. I can't believe it's so close. Amendment 5 getting a lot of attention. Look, you know this. I support you on this. It requires the phase out and elimination of the individual income tax. I still see, Mike, so many people on our side that are opposed to this because they don't trust lawmakers. So I'm concerned mainly about that. There's going to be an instant reaction from people on the left. I don't really know why they would want to have more money confiscated. But where are you on this right now? Because you're trying to get this across the finish line.
Well, we think it's a great thing for Missourians to be able to get. An average family would get $3,000 a year in their pocket, $9 billion every year back to Missouri taxpayers, Mark. I ran on providing an option for Missourians to eliminate the income tax. We took a year to come up with a responsible plan that doesn't cut any essential services, does what we need to do. Legislature passed it last spring, and now Missourians get to vote on it. And, I would say that the people even on our side who are saying, well, I don't want to leave it up to the politicians, they leave it up to the politicians every day, right now. The people that you put in office can impose crazy things on you every day that they're in session. So there's no difference now in trusting who you elect in a House or Senate member than you did 2 years or 4 years ago, because that him or her can impose crazy things on Missourians. The fact of this particular piece, the constitutional measure, does not allow the legislature to spend 1 penny more than what the offset is on income tax. So this notion that there's going to be runaway sales tax, that's coming from a group of special interest people who have carve-outs right now that are making a lot of money on it, and they don't want to lose those carve-outs.
Well, and it's frustrating because, that's the stuff I see out there, and it's not even true. Now, when you gave your State of the State address, one of the things they keep telling people is that this is going to, affect health care, real estate. But you ruled those out in your State of the State, didn't you?
No, 100%. And not only that, the House and Senate leadership in both chambers have agreed we will not move any piece of legislation forward when we reimagine what the tax code could look like that's over 100 years old with agriculture, healthcare, or real estate in it. Those three will be exempt. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere, God willing. And so are the House and Senate members. Those have always been the ground rules. The fact that they're now using that to scare people, quite frankly, is just desperate because they can't win on the facts, so they might as well scare people.
Governor Kehoe is here. So, on one of the goals here, and this, is to make Missouri grow when we're not growing. The opponents still like to say, look, we are not Nashville, right? They got Nashville and Tennessee. We're not Florida. We don't have Disney World, all this stuff. But what is the other alternative, I guess, I think you've even asked that question, right? What is the opportunity? This is, to me, Mike, this is an opportunity, and I think you look at it this way, too, to change this tax code and really make a significant difference for people here in Missouri. And that's why I support it. But, I don't really understand a lot of the opposition on the other side.
Well, let me tell you something. They haven't presented a plan that would make our state grow. I was fortunate enough to do a podcast with Laura Trump this week, and we had a great conversation both on and off the air about this very subject. You don't need to have a Nashville. Look, Nashville wasn't Nashville 20 years ago. Everybody needs to get their arms around that. I agree. Florida has an ocean on three sides. Texas is as big as all of Europe most days. But Nashville and Utah, some of these other places that don't have tax, South Dakota, for God's sakes, doesn't have an income tax. We can grow our population. Every economic prospect I talk to, whether it's during the World Cup games or now that we're looking at Missouri or thinking of expanding Missouri, they say, hey, what about this Amendment 5? Does it have a chance? My managers would really like that. We'd really like to expand here. We'd like to give our employees $3,000 more in their pocket each year. This is a tool that gives us the ability to expand our population and expand our economy. And when we expand our economy, it gives more opportunities for Missourians to create a better lives for their family. That's the bottom line.
How much are you talking about Amendment 4? Because that's another one, obviously, that's important. I support Amendment 4. I think it's just that's one maybe that's confusing to some people because this whole, IP, as I call it, I don't think when you say IP, it doesn't come to people initiative petitions, but that's what this is all about, and making sure that people in Kansas City and St. Louis, where the populations are higher in those regions, don't get to change the Constitution at whim.
Yeah, there's a statistic out there. Somebody has sent it to me, and I'm not part of the campaign. I'm 100% for it, that Missouri's population is 6 million people. If you take St. Louis, Kansas City, Jefferson City, Columbia, and Springfield, that's about 5.3 million. So anything they want to get passed, they can get passed, and us 700,000 in rural Missouri are just going to get it shoved down our throat. What this is not about, the easier way instead of saying IP reform is, this is telling people our Constitution is not for sale. Whether you look at the marijuana initiative that went in there or the pro-abortion act that was incredibly harmful and just insane that we did that to unborn children back in 2024, all of the funding for those two initiatives, I'm not going to say all, a majority of the largest funding came from out of state. So out of state interests know if they have an issue they want to get done in Missouri, they can just pony up $10, $15, $20 million and buy a couple hundred pages in our Constitution. Our Constitution should not be for sale. This still allows a process for somebody to get to the point where they want to suggest a reasonable, common sense change, but it doesn't let the big billionaires come in here and push down our throats whatever they want.
Governor Kehoe is with you this afternoon. So I saw you about a month ago, and we're getting closer to the BMW Championship. You were at Belle Reve for that news conference, and what I remember is you were going over to see the mayor, Kara Spencer. How was that meeting? Have you had conversations? I guess the question would be on public safety in particular with the mayor.
Sure. I think the mayor has had her hands full with a lot of issues that she didn't intend to have when she went into office. Look, the mayor and I, there's definitely things we disagree on. There's a lot of things we do agree on, and we're going to continue to work together. As a born and raised St. Louis City person, I want the city to thrive and do good. It is a benefit for our entire state. When St. Louis and the region is doing good, the ripple effect goes across the state. We disagree on how to fund public safety. I have promised, and I still do every day, and you know this, the men and ladies who wear the badge and protect our communities, they're the ones we should be taken care of. We passed legislation that is really beneficial to them, the Recruitment Act led by David Gregory right there in St. Louis that allows for tuition for first responders and or their children. Different things we've done. We need to continue to take care of our first responders. The mayor just hasn't got there yet on how that funding would come place. She's got a tough job with the city budget right now. I get that, but we're going to continue to try to make sure our first responders get the compensation they deserve.
Have you checked out the cool North End Zone in Columbia?
I haven't been in it, but I've driven. They don't like people like me going those things. So, Mark, you and I will probably just be sitting on the outside looking in. I have not been in it yet. I'm looking forward to it. It looks amazing. So I can't wait to take a look at it and, make sure our Tigers do a great job this season. And I think the drink will take us in some great directions.
Absolutely. Look, I've just been seeing a lot of people posting pictures because it is pretty much close to completion. It really, the atmosphere in that stadium, it's a real SEC atmosphere now, and it's really cool to see that, and we wish Coach Drink success. All right, Governor Mike Kehoe, good luck here in the closing days of this campaign, and then we'll move on to November. But thanks for checking in tonight. Hope all is well.
Hey, Mark, real quick, based on the Chiefs' announcement, the Mizzou Tigers is our football team. So what I would say to that, number one, please give consideration Amendment 4 and 5 and take a good look at it. And number two, MIZ.
ZOU. Thank you, Mike. We'll see you.
See you, buddy.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
More debris out there. We've got 64 eastbound past Prospect. Debris in the right lane, so look for it, and some slowing in the area. 270 southbound past Doherty Ferry. You've got that right lane closed with a stalled vehicle and a bit slowing in the area. Northbound side of 270, just past 40 or 64. You've got a crash working in a lane. 170 southbound, you're going to take it slow from Forest Park Parkway down to 64. 64 westbound from Kings Highway to Big Bend, and eastbound from Lindbergh or McKnight actually over to Big Bend is delayed. And then westbound a little further, approaching I-70, or approaching 70 in the Wentzville area, you've got some delays because of road work. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel, and host of On the Money, Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
License number GL250000615.
You're cooking dinner. The lights go out. You flip the breaker and forget about it.
But what if it keeps tripping?
Trips once, your breaker's doing its job. Keeps tripping? That's a warning. Bad wiring or something worse.
Do people just keep flipping it?
Most do, until they can't anymore.
Call Grasser. We'll stop the trip.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
Men, if you're suffering from erectile dysfunction or PE, you're not alone. Most importantly, you don't have to live with it. Paramount Men's Medical Center restores men's sex lives in just one visit. Their painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, even when Viagra and Cialis don't work. Here's Dr. Simovitz, specialist in men's health.
Paramount Men's Medical Center's painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, regardless of age or medical history. 98% of patients see instant results right in the office.
Men are now lasting longer than they ever imagined. And the best part, at Paramount Men's Medical Center, your consultation and first treatment are free. Qualified patients even get their testosterone checked free. Call 314-887-4333. 314-887-4333. Take control of your sex life. Call now. 314-887-4333.
Have you heard those ads claiming Amendment 4 stops conservative amendments?
That's not true. It actually stops a couple big cities from pushing radical ideas into our Constitution. Remember 2024? Only 8 out of 114 counties voted to allow transgender surgeries on children.
That's terrifying. We can't let just a handful of counties rule the whole state.
Exactly. Amendment 4 requires broad statewide support and keeps foreign money out of our elections. Vote yes on 4 this August 4th.
You convinced me. I'm voting yes too.
Paid for by Freedom Principle MO, Missouri First PAC, Kate Sickles, Treasurer.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, on Friday, especially this hour, I like to talk music, and that's what we're going to do. Plus, I'm going to play some songs that I like right now, like this one from Kehoe that is called Hey Gringo. And it's on repeat right now on one of my playlists. Super cool.
That she's good as gold. Yeah, she'll leave you one more.
Oh, love that band. Tim Sommer is back with us, music journalist. He's got a brand new book out in about a week called Dispatches from the Kingdom of Outsiders. He's been a great friend and a great contributor to the show for many years now. Tim Sommer, welcome back. How are you this afternoon?
What a pleasure to be here. And I have to say that I'm always pleased and surprised that you play music that I really like that I've never heard before. I love that I can be exposed to new music from your show.
I used to do it more often. You know, they kind of took my bumper music away from me because it was too much work for the producers, because I used to have, bumper music during every break, and we've kind of gone to generic. But look, it's kind of my self-indulgent part of the show. I try to hope that the audience is interested as well, but that's what I have a passion for. And here's where you and I have this commonality to a certain extent, because this story is awesome in the stories that you share in this book. But when you were 15 years old or so, you decided you wanted to write about rock and roll. When I was that age, I started on the radio. I wanted to be a disc jockey. I wanted to be
and you felt like you had no choice. That's the way I felt about writing about rock and roll, about having a career in rock and roll. It wasn't a dream of mine. It was just like a necessity. It felt like something I had to do.
Yeah, but how did you tell the story about how you got started? Because you basically asked for a gig, like in the mailroom, and you that's how you got started.
That's exactly right. I called my favorite rock magazine out of the blue, a cold call, and I called, and it was the summer after. No, it was the spring when I was in 11th grade. The summer hadn't happened yet because I wanted the job during the summer.
Right.
It was the spring of 11th grade, and I called my favorite rock magazine, and I just said, hey, do you guys need an office boy or anything like that? And I lucked out, and you can't say enough about luck in life, right? You manufacture luck, and then sometimes luck just happens. I called my favorite rock magazine, and the person who usually answers the phone was out in the bathroom or something. So because they were out, the person who picked up the phone was the editor of the magazine. Now, if the woman who answered the phone usually had picked up the phone and heard this kid saying, hey, can I come in and be an office boy, she almost certainly would have said, no, thanks. We have all the interns we need for the summer. But this guy named Ira Robbins picked up the phone. He was the editor-in-chief of Trouser Press magazine, and he said, yeah, sure, come on in, let's talk. And I went in, and they liked me, and they liked my perspective. And before long, they started saying, hey, do you want to review this record? Do you want to review this show? And next thing I know, by the time I was 16 years old, the summer between 11th grade and 12th grade, I had a column in that national magazine, and that's the way it had all started. But again, it seemed, and maybe you had the same experience when you went on the radio for the first time, it seemed like just what was supposed to happen. I was excited about it. I felt it was an amazing thing, but it also felt like what was right.
Yeah, I think for me, it felt like I can't really do anything else. I have no other skills, and it remains that way until this day. But honestly, I wanted to do what you ended up doing, which was being an A&R guy in the record industry. And what was interesting is in the early 80s, I made these contacts with these guys who were reps here in St. Louis. And I think about this, Tim, all the time. And I don't know if you do along the lines of what you're describing when you were young. But I had these very important people who were record reps. David Craigskow was a guy. Bob Fino, I worked with him here. Gene Donatovich at Columbia Records. Bebop Hobel at EMI. You might even know some of these people, but they took such good care of me. They saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself, and that had to be some of your story as well, with people seeing something in you, right?
Yeah, I mean, my perspective was different. I was enthusiastic. My taste was very, very broad, and I believed in what I believed in. Now, the title of this book, Dispatches from the Kingdom of Outsiders, I think I was trying to speak for a perspective we all had. There was a time in all of our lives when we were 13, 14, 15 years old when it felt like no one understood us but our records. And our friends were our records.
Yes, I can relate with that.
Sometimes we felt the same way about our sports teams. I think you could say the same thing about sports teams, that especially in this era before the constant intercommunication and interaction of the internet and cell phones, teenage adolescence, pubescence, puberty could be a very, very lonely time. And then you heard that one song, or saw that picture of that one rock star, or saw that one performer on television, and you thought to yourself, I am heard, I am understood. That's the feeling that drove me to write about music, and the feeling that I wanted to write about. As I say in the introduction of the book, there's many, many years ago, Billy Idol, who is a friend, said, wrote a song where he said, I just want to give the feeling rock and roll gave to me. That's why I started writing when I was 15, 16 years old. It's also when I was 13 years old, 14 years old, that I couldn't shut up telling people about my favorite records. You would go to the cafeteria, or you would corral people at the bus stop, and you would just say, you've got to hear this, you've got to hear this. Oh, my God, wait till you hear this song. Or have you heard this artist? They're completely different, but I guarantee you're going to love them. Hey, I'm still doing that.
Yeah, that's what's so awesome. By the way, you talk about Billy Idol. On the back of the book, this is what Billy Idol says about you. Sommer goes deep on a whole century of rock and pop culture, from Bowie to Buddy Bolden, Spike Milligan to Taylor Swift, and everything in between. Punk was always a state of mind as much as a sound or a look. And this book is Punk AF. We'll let the audience kind of envision what AF means. I think I know. But that's pretty awesome. You got Thurston Moore on the back here as well. So you've had people that have been with you along the ride for, the stories that you tell in this book. Now, these are stories that you've written over the course of years, and it's kind of a collection of those stories in the book, right?
What I want to say, incidentally, and speaking of someone who is a St. Louis native that you may not know, it came a little late to use for the book, but just last week I got a note from Michael Stipe saying, Tim, do you need a blurb for the book? And I was like, well, we're a little late on that, Michael.
I know. What the hell? That's right. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, because you're in that REM documentary. You're featured in that, right?
Yeah. And but I didn't know, by the way, I didn't know if you knew he was a St. Louis native.
I think you're the one who told me that. Like, it wasn't he didn't spend a lot of time here or anything like that, right?
Yeah. But I think it was when he was a kid.
Yeah.
Before. But sorry, but please go on.
No, but your story. So this is a collection of stories. You've shared a couple of these with me on the air and with the audience. Like I have to kind of have you repeat a couple of these. Like this one, which is early in the book. I watch in awe and terror when Johnny Depp and Evan Dando nearly kill themselves. Please share that one again, because it's quite the story.
Well, I was, I don't know if you've ever spent time in Los Angeles, or especially in the entertainment industry, but the difference in Los Angeles and other places in the country is people, to my experience, people left the office early. When I worked at MTV in New York City, we worked until 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. We were in that office until 8 o'clock every night. Now, in Los Angeles, when I worked at Atlantic Records, that office cleared out by 6 o'clock. Okay,
yeah.
So, empty. It was a two-floor office in this big building on Sunset Boulevard, right at the beginning of where the Sunset Strip sort of ended and Beverly Hills began. That's where the building was, and I was working late one night. Probably I wasn't actually working late. I was probably sitting around watching Sports Center. But it was about 7:30 one night, and I'm sitting in my office at Atlantic Records. And suddenly, these two people appear at my doorway, and I realize that it's Evan Dando, the leader of this band, the Lemonheads, and a person who was one of his close friends at the time, Johnny Depp. This is 1994, by the way. Actually, it might have been 1993. I'm sorry. Johnny Depp wasn't a gigantic star yet, but he was still pretty famous. And Evan says to me, hey, Tim, this is my friend Johnny. Can we come in and just listen to some music and bum some cigarettes? Because this was a time when you could still smoke in your office. That's how.
Oh, yeah. Well, I worked in radio long enough. You used to be able to smoke in studios, and the damage it did to the equipment is just stunning that was allowed. Yeah.
So it's 1990. It's the early mid-1990s. And it's a late night in my office, and no one else is in the office, literally no one else. The entire floor is cleared out, and it's just me listening to music and watching Sports Center. So Johnny Depp and Evan Dando come and sit in the two chairs in front of me, and they bum some cigarettes, and we play some music. And after a while, and they're both a little out of it, and after a while, Evan leans forward to me and he says, as if it's some big surprise, Evan says to me, by the way, Tim, we're tripping right now. And he didn't mean tripping and like that. He meant tripping as in he had put a little thing on the end of his tongue.
That's right.
And swallowed it. And they were somewhere in the astral plane. They were just somewhere in the galaxies. And so Evan Dando and Johnny Depp sat in my office for about 20 minutes, smoking and listening to music, and then they said goodbye and they left. Now, I should mention that at this time, they were doing construction in my building, and I was on the 9th floor of the building. And they're doing construction all around the 9th floor. They're putting new windows in. So because of that, there's scaffolding around the entire 9th floor of the building on Sunset Boulevard. So Evan Dando and Johnny Depp leave my office, and I feel, well, that's kind of cool. I just met Johnny Depp, and we just sat and listened to music and smoked cigarettes and smoked some Marlboros. That was kind of fun. So I'm just sitting in my office thinking about that, and I hear this noise outside. And it's a weird noise. It's a noise I can't identify. It's this weird rumbling sound, not an earthquake-type sound, but there's this sound going on outside the building. And I'm wondering what it is, and just as I'm beginning to wonder what it is, I see Johnny Depp and Evan Dando on the construction scaffolding outside the 9th floor of the building, running laps around the building. That's literally what they were doing. They had found a way to climb out onto the scaffolding 110 feet over Sunset Boulevard, running laps around the building. And, okay, there's one lap, and I hear them go around. I hear the noise fade, and I hear it coming in. You're coming closer. And there they are running past my window again, giggling and laughing. And I'm thinking to myself, well, there's at least a 50% chance that these guys are going to fall to their death.
No kidding, right?
First of all, it's a scaffolding. It's not like a big, it's not like a bridge or anything. It's sort of a construction scaffolding. You put you or me outside on construction scaffolding when we're perfectly sober, and we'll probably fall off. Now, these guys are running, and they're high as F. Okay?
Yes.
So they run one lap around the building. They run a second lap around the building. And I thought to myself, I'm not sticking around for the third lap. I'm out of here. And I thought to myself, and I really did think this is absolutely true, and it's in the book. I thought to myself, no one knows I'm in the office right now. I'm the last person in this office, and there's no security person. No one knows I'm here. I can sneak out and drive home, and if these two clowns, these two famous clowns, happen to fall to their deaths, no one will know that I was here. No one will know that I had anything to do with it, because, that's a career killer. If you open up the paper the next day and it's like a new record executive lets Johnny Depp fall to his death, that's not going to be good for my career.
Yeah. I think we'd be reading a different book at this point, right?
Yes, we would. So as they're still running around the building, I sneak out, take the elevator down to the garage, get in my car, drive home. My home was only 5 minutes away in the Hollywood Hills. And I went home, and this is literally what I did. I'm not making any of this up. I put on news radio, and wait to see if there's a story about Johnny Depp falling to his death on Sunset Boulevard. I sat by the radio. I'm not making this up. I sat by the radio listening to news radio for a full hour to see if there was any news about like a big accident and Johnny Depp falling to his death. And when there wasn't, I figured, okay, I think you're okay.
By the way, on the Johnny Depp front, did you see the trailer for Scrooge that he's in?
I did not.
Oh, my gosh. Pull it up, dude. It is amazing. It's going to be released on November 13th. Tim Sommer's with me. Dispatches from the Kingdom of Outsiders, writing on music, culture, and more. 1979 to 2025. We're coming back with more.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Some delays if you're traveling on 64 westbound, approaching the Poplar Street Bridge and over it, and then you're okay from there on out. A slight delay as you approach I-70, but not much left there. That's some construction stuff. Eastbound side of 64, your only other delay, this second of 3, slow going from Ignite over to Big Ben, and 170 southbound, your only last delay there is from Forest Park Parkway, barely down to 64 left over. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Sue will be back on Monday afternoon. Let's talk about the Retirement Advisor Group because we are getting very, very close to another seminar with the team, Bob and Tammy Kershaw at the Retirement Advisor Group. And Mark and Annie and I would all love to see you here a week from Tuesday because we're getting together for another in a series. Actually, let me say 2 weeks from Tuesday. I'm getting a little confused because Election Day is next Tuesday. It's a week after that. So it's August 11th, 6:30 p.m., the DoubleTree by Hilton in Chesterfield off of Swingley Ridge Road. We used to do these near Plaza Frontenac. We've moved them a little further west. It's a great location. It's an hour long, maybe an hour and 15 minutes. It's a quick in and out. You're going to learn something. And whether or not you want to take the next steps with Bob and Tammy at the Retirement Advisor Group, that's up to you. These are free seminars. You just need to reserve a spot. If you are more comfortable going in one-on-one, that is advised because all you got to do is call the same number, 314-993-9494, or retirementkey.com. You can register either for the event on August 11th or for a one-on-one visit. We'd love to see you in 2 weeks at the DoubleTree by Hilton, the Retirement Advisor Group at retirementkey.com.
I'm Bill Hemmer, and these are the most impactful moments in American history. The 19th century marked a period of rapid industrial advancements in the country. Communication, on the other hand, was still moving at a snail's pace. The telegraph was still a new and developing technology, leaving most Americans to rely on physical means to send a message, trains, ships, and the good old Pony Express. But in 1851, everything changed with the foundation of a small telegraph company in Rochester, New York, and that would later become known as Western Union. Western Union developed a vast telegraph network across states. Within a decade of its birth, Western Union completed the first transcontinental telegraph. But it didn't stop there. Western Union would also develop the stock ticker and even the first wire money transfer.
America 250 on 97.1 FM Talk. Sponsored by Paramount Men's Medical Center.
Corey, from Air Comfort Service? Why are you standing next to my AC?
I'm standing behind our work.
But it's 8 p.m. You're just going to stand behind my air conditioner?
Yeah, pretty much.
Could you turn off the sprinkler then?
Absolutely. At Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation, we take pride in our work. If you need a new air conditioner or HVAC system, you can trust we'll install the equipment correctly. Plus, for a limited time, qualify for rebates up to $2,600 and 0% financing for up to 72 months. For a free estimate, visit aircomfortservice.com.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you've been injured in a car accident, call America's largest injury law firm. For over 35 years, my mission has been to deliver more for our clients, to deliver more for you. Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
5:36. This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
Happy birthday, America, in 2026. Get used to hearing the word semi-quincentennial. America 250 on 97.1 FM Talk. Sponsored by Paramount Men's Medical Center.
Oh, yeah, we're talking music this afternoon with Tim Sommer. He's got a brand new book out called Dispatches from the Kingdom of Outsiders. It's out in early August in a couple of weeks, and we're just sharing some stories here. Tim, this is sort of a series of stories that you've written about and told over the years. And you even say in the book, you don't have to really read these in order, right? You can kind of hunt and peck around.
It's a buffet. It's a buffet.
So I know that one of my favorites, I hate to keep doing the stories that you've already told me, but I know that you write about this, is the gig that you kind of had with Bono and The Edge in 1980. You know, there's this legendary show that occurred here at Washington University the first time that you two came here, and there's probably a lot more people that say that were there than were really there, but this is kind of a crazy story from 1980 when you were still really, really young, right?
Yeah, I was 18 and a half, and I was a fairly prominent journalist already. My career had built up a lot. Not only that, I had begun working on my college radio station, like so many of us do. Only a wonderful thing about our college radio station, WMYU, is it had a big ass transmitter. It was a transmitter that you could hear over 3 states. It was fantastic. So I had told Trouser Press, this is December of 1980. Again, this is the magazine where I got my start. I told Trouser Press, there's this band coming to New York called U2, and they hadn't released their album yet in the United States. They had had a couple of singles out, and in England and Ireland, but they hadn't released their album yet. And I said, I really like this band, and I think we should do something with them. They said, yeah, okay, Tim, go interview them. Simultaneously, I also was going to do an interview. Me and my friend Mike Dugan were going to do an interview with them for WNYU Radio. So weirdly, this is December 6, 1980, a very important date.
Yeah.
It was the first day that U2 ever visited New York. So they were coming to New York to play a quickly set up show, actually opening for like a heavy metal band. There weren't very many people there, at a club called the Ritz. And during that day, I was going to interview U2, not just once, but twice. Now, I'll tell you something funny, which I don't remember if it's in the book or not. So I go to the hotel, and I meet Bono, and he's really quite sweet. And Bono's only a year older than me. Bono's like 19, I'm 18. And it's very unusual to meet artists who are your own age. So we got along very well right away. And Bono said this story to me, this is the first thing he said to me. He said, I want to tell you a funny story. Last night, we got in late, but it was New York City, and I wanted to see New York City. And all my life, I've been reading about Greenwich Village, so I wanted to go out to Greenwich Village. And I went out, and I went to this bar, but there were nothing but men in this bar. And I guess, despite the fact that he was from a fairly big city, Dublin, I guess he'd never been in a gay bar
Yeah,
before.
sounds like it, right?
Yeah. So anyway, I do 2 interviews that day. First, I do an interview just for Trouser Press magazine. Then, me and my friend Mike set up our tape recorder, and we do another interview with Bono and the Edge. Now, this is still such a bizarre story, such a strange thing that occurred to us. I still have to pinch myself. At the end of our interview that Mike and I did with U2 for the radio, Bono, again, he's extremely friendly and extremely sweet, and he says, hey, we just bought these new guitars. We want to try them out. Do you guys want to come to our room and hear some songs? And we're like, yeah, sure, we're not doing anything. The cafeteria doesn't open for another hour. Seriously, this is what we thought. But the cafeteria at NYU doesn't open at our dorms.
Yeah, what the heck? Let's go, right? Let's go hear some music.
Let's repeat that. The cafeteria at our dorm doesn't open for another hour, so let's hear Bono and the Edge play some songs for us. That actually happened. So we went up to their hotel room, and they shared a hotel room. They were just starting off. They didn't have their own rooms. They shared a hotel room. So Bono and the Edge took out their guitars, their new acoustic guitars. Bono sat on his bed, Ed sat on his bed, Mike and I sat on the floor, and they played us 4 songs. So this is a U2 concert just for me and my friend Mike. And I still have to pinch myself that this happened.
I can't even believe it. And by the way, you mentioned the date. It was just a couple of nights. In fact, 2 nights later is when John Lennon was assassinated, right?
That's exactly right. In the same city. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Look, you have so many amazing stories in here, and I want to talk a lot about them. I think we only have story time for one more, though, and we're going to do this again. But I have to know what this is because I'm very fascinated by page 138. Sha Na Na was the most important band at Woodstock, and I'm not blanking kidding. So I got to play a little Sha Na Na here. I had to introduce Sha Na Na to Ethan. But first of all, you're not a big fan of Woodstock as a cultural moment, right? Is that true, or am I misrepresenting that?
No, it's just like the whole thing about Woodstock is we're supposed to be excited because you put 1 million hippies in a field and none of them died. That's like the big achievement. And what is the big deal about that? It doesn't mean anything. And I feel like, the hippies, the great counterculture hippies, are supposed to be this big political force. And as I say in the piece, Richard Nixon wasn't afraid of the hippies. He was afraid of George Wallace.
Yeah, well, in that year, he certainly was, right?
George Wallace was the big threat to him, not the hippies. The split in the Democratic Party in the Southern Democrat, it's exactly the same time that the Southern Democratic Party split off and became the right wing of the Republican Party, and that's what threatened Nixon. No one was afraid of the hippies. Now, you have these hippies, you have 1 million people at Woodstock, a couple of an hour's march from the state capitol in Albany. Really, it's a moment when you could have stood in front of that audience and said, let's make a difference, let's march to Albany. Instead, no, they're going to sit around and listen to this nice music. And that just, it's the moment, Woodstock is the moment in American history to me when rock and roll becomes meaningless, when it becomes a force for fashion, not a force for change. Now, in the middle of all this drowsy acoustic music, as I said, it made America, Woodstock made America safe for the Eagles. That's what I think Woodstock did. In the middle of
I
all
love this opinion. This is awesome.
In the middle of all this drowsy Woodstock music, all of a sudden, Sha Na Na arrive, playing ridiculously fast. They show up in leather jackets and gold lame, and they sit there and they arrive there and they play this fast, funky, furious 1.5 and 2 minute and 3 minute rock and roll, and it was like a forecast of the punk rock future, and I love it.
Oh my gosh! That's first of all, I had no idea that they were there at Woodstock, and just to play a little Sha Na Na and doo wop this afternoon. Well, that's pretty special. I love that. Well, the book is out.
You remember a time? You're just old enough to remember a time when you would listen to the FM stations or the AM stations. You listen to the FM stations, and it'd be some guy playing like. 20-minute ELP song. I don't know if your listeners are old enough to remember who the hell ELP were.
We know. We had Kehoe here in St. Louis, so they knew Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
Right. So you're listening to a 20-minute ELP song, and you remember, maybe you're old enough to remember doing this, maybe your listeners are old enough to remember doing this. Do you remember in the middle of that 20-minute boring ELP song that your FM radio station would be playing, you would be like, you know what? I'm going to flip over to the oldie station, to the station playing greaser rock and roll. And you would put that on, and they'd be playing Eddie Cochran or Dion and the Belmonts or Buddy Holly or Little Richard, and you go, this is the stuff. Do you remember that feeling?
Absolutely. And you kind of encapsulate it in the book. The book is called Dispatches from the Kingdom of Outsiders. Is it what's the official release date?
August 4th, sir.
August 4th,
It's
Tim
available
Sommer.
for pre-order, though, and I'm telling you something. It's a buffet, and it's a buffet about living a life, loving rock and roll, and finding your identity and your friends and yourself through rock and roll.
One of my favorite chapters, and I know that we talked about it at the time, is Weezer's Africa is the most Republican pop recording of all time. I love it. Tim Sommer, hey, good luck. I know that you're going to be busy promoting the book. We'll talk here, though, in a few weeks, and I hope all is well.
Thank you so much, Mark.
Take care.
Ring to a bass worldwide. Every note we play got a story to tell. Time travel through the music with a hip-hop smell. Feel like on oboe, feel like on oboe, feel like on oboe, feel like on oboe.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Watch for a crash on 64 eastbound. This is right at 270, the northbound ramp there. They're clearing it now, and we've got delays eastbound on 64 a little further from McKnight over to Big Bend, and nothing on your westbound side any longer except over the Poplar Street Bridge. And then southbound 170 slows from Forest Park Parkway or just past that point down to 64. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Mark Cox here. Don't be fooled by those deceptive ads you're hearing on Missouri Amendments 4 and 5. Get the truth. I'll explain all of the amendments and key local races. Download my August voter guide at 971talk.com.
Well, this is a great weekend maybe to do a little homework on a flooring project if you have time. Go to igotfloored.com. That's the great website from Michael's Flooring Outlet with 3 outstanding locations here in the St. Louis area. Now, depending on your lifestyle, whether you have pets or kids or whether you're looking for soft flooring, silky soft mohawk carpet, which is some of the best in the industry. Maybe you're looking for hard flooring. I know in my situation, we took carpeting out of a couple of rooms. Mike and the team helped us put in some beautiful hard flooring. It was a weekend that I was out of town. I think I was visiting my son in Houston, and I came back and there was a bunch of the flooring product that was left over. And we were going to get a refund for that part. But then I said, hey, we were thinking about this idea in the basement where my bunny hutch is, actually. And we took some of that. We had to order a little bit more, I think. And we got 3 projects done in one very efficient effort from Michael's Flooring Outlet, and they can make this work for you too. And you can do it on a budget. That's important. You can get beautiful flooring, and you can do it within your budget for your household with the technology that you're interested in. Waterproof, pet-proof, easy to clean. You want all that. IGotFloor.com. They're open right now. They're open tomorrow. They are closed on Sundays in their 3 locations, Old Town St. Peters, Darden Prairie, and in West County on Olive. IGotFloor.com.
When Donald Trump needs conservative votes to help pass his agenda for Missouri, Representative Tricia Burns never answers the call. Tricia Burns has missed 370 votes. Burns is bucking President Trump's priorities. Burns did not vote to stop DEI initiatives, prevent China from owning Missouri land, defund Planned Parenthood, and Burns did not vote to ban boys from girls' sports. Tricia Burns not showing up for Missouri and President Trump. Instead, Tricia Burns spends her time pulling pranks on the suicide prevention hotline. Yes, you heard that right. Tricia Burns lied to the police and staged a fake suicide emergency. She sent a series of messages to the hotline and said she, quote, had a gun to her head, end quote. When she got caught, she said there'd be no consequences because she's a politician. By August 4th, vote to show Tricia Burns that there are consequences to being bad at your job. Cut the Bullpack paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidate committee.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's best eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Where I get to play the songs that I really love right now on a Friday. This is a band called Stoplight Observations. Never heard them before. Put it on a playlist. I love this song, Too Young. All right, we have Audio Cut of the Day coming up here in just a moment. Fred has put together an amazing show already for Monday. He's been very inspired. So we're almost set for Monday afternoon. It's looking really, really good. In fact, Keith Kellogg, General Kellogg, will be with us. We'll kind of get the latest on Iran from the General at 3:15. You know, we are going to be a week from Election Day on Tuesday. Melissa Price-Smith is the St. Louis County prosecutor who took over for Wesley Bell when Wesley went to Congress. She, in my opinion, has been pretty effective at her job, but she is being challenged on the ballot here in a couple of weeks. And then Jordan Duker, I believe no relation to Jane, our friend, wrote a piece in the City Journal. Jordan's been a guest on the show before, and he really followed a lot of our history here in St. Louis going back to Ferguson. And he has something that he wrote about. I saw this today in the City Journal that is called the Ferguson Political Machine. So Jordan Duker will be here as well on Monday afternoon. And I hope everyone has a good weekend. I have Scott Jennings coming into town. So if you're going to be at Busch Stadium, please don't go up to Jennings and ask for a picture because it gets embarrassing. And he has such a big ego to begin with. But he and our mutual friend Joe Arnold, I think Joe's already in town, is picking Jennings up at the airport. We're going to go to a couple of these games this weekend. He has not been to a Cardinals game. You know, Scott's a huge, huge Cardinals fan. Hasn't been to a game since we went Memorial Day of last year. Well, that's not true. He went to games in Cincinnati, but just not here in St. Louis. So it'll be a fun weekend getting together with the Louisville crew. Let's do this afternoon.
Stand by. Playback ready.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
Okay, now, I think this is real. Ethan doesn't think it's real, all right? And I will tell you that there are things that happen on the interwebs and on YouTube and on, TikTok, et cetera, that we're very careful with these days because you can kind of see that some of this stuff is gimmicky and there's social influencers that are trying to get clicks. But I'm going to go with this was real. We'll see. These two women, a mother and a daughter, not necessarily younger, mom's pretty old, and the daughter, and the Uber driver that they have is wearing a Trump hat, and they don't like it very much.
You want to tip or not? Do you understand who this guy is that you're wearing? This guy, this disgusting pig that you're wearing?
Ladies.
Sir.
I suggest you take a breath and relax because this is just an Uber ride and I take offense to you telling me what to wear and what not to wear in my own house.
Sir,
or own
I do not care about
okay?
yes, we're paying. Do you understand?
So the reason I think this is real is because now I'm going to put a little image in your head here. These are two guilty older white women. Envision Webster Groves, okay? They're right there at the corner of Elm and, right there downtown. They're protesting with their BLM signs, and they get into an Uber. That's exactly who we're talking about here.
Do you want 5 stars? Because we'll leave you 0 stars if you can't accommodate my...
No, just pull over because you are...
And look, we're in the middle of the road. You want me to pull over?
I don't understand why you can't just take the hat off. I don't understand why, it's really that hard for you to just take
I
the
support
hat
my
off.
president.
Because you're making her upset.
So mom is literally freaking out and starting to cry. Now, this is real. I got to tell you a story here. My wife spends a little time at the St. Louis County Library out where we live in Fenton, and that's where she does a lot of her work because she works on contract and she can kind of hang out wherever she wants to. She says that yesterday there were some women in there playing a game, and they're in their 70s, and they're very vocally and not even shamefully or being ashamed of saying that they wish Trump was assassinated at the World Cup. Someone said something, the quote was, why couldn't someone just take him out, right? So these are real people that exist out there, not only with the hatred, but with the freak-out factor like these two women had.
Scared that you're making my mother cry right now?
Take that hat off now or just pull over on your...
Seriously.
Please pull over!
See,
I'm not going to pull...
Take your freaking hat off, okay?
I'm recording you.
Seriously.
Now I'm going to pull over to call the
up
cops.
here. Pull over.
That's called assault. You should not be touching
I don't care.
me.
We're getting out. Pull over. We're getting out. Pull over.
All right, can I at least pull over in this safe spot?
Yes, sir. Jeez.
Do you know who the pig is? The hat that you're wearing.
This is
Do you know who
ridiculous.
that guy is?
Don't even waste your
breath,
breath,
Do you know
Mom.
the things he's done to this planet and ruined things?
It's okay,
you
Mom.
have
Okay,
any
ladies.
idea
It's
who
okay.
this
Let's get
guy
out of
is.
here. I'm reporting you.
I hope you have a better day. Because
So they actually took his hat off and they swiped his hat. But I think it's real because the mom's freak out is just too good. You have a hard time convincing me that the mom freak out was fake. So there you go. That's your audio cut of the day. I'm heading up to the Wildey Theater to see a band called the Young Dubliners tonight. They're a Celtic rock band. I really like them a lot. And my friend Charles Waltz plays fiddle in that band. So this is like back-to-back shows for me because I went and saw the Mavericks last night at the pageant, and that was an outstanding tribute to the late Raul Malo, who passed away last December. All right, Sue's going to be back on Monday. I'll be here. Fred will be here. Hopefully the Cardinals can get back on track. We'll get a report from Scott Jennings as well. Back on Monday at 3. Have a great weekend.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Only 2 delays left out there. That would be on 64 eastbound from McKnight over to Big Bend is still on the brakes, and then southbound side of 170 headed into 64 is slightly delayed. And I suppose westbound on 64 getting onto and over the Poplar Street Bridge, that's a little slow as well, but the rest of the roadways have cleared up. I'm Trent Erickson with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.